Patrick, how we doing? You ready? Everybody ready? Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Fine, distinguished audience we have out here. They're far better dressed than we are up front here. But
move it a little bit closer.
Okay. So I'd like to call the meeting to order this time. It's 6:31, and this is a Celebration Residential Owners Association monthly board meeting. And the first thing we have on the is the introduction of Amanda Soto, and that's going to be Debbie and David Anderson doing that. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is David Anderson, and I want to offer a few brief remarks on recognizing Jerry Weiland. It's an honor to have Jerry as a member of our community. I know that when many people think of law enforcement, and I know I'm way outnumbered tonight, stereotypes run amok, and a lot of that is negative. We are very fortunate in Celebration and in the surrounding community with the officers present tonight. We're very fortunate to have Jerry working with us, working for us. Sometimes he gives us, some of us, tickets. Sometimes he gives us warning, but what we get from Jerry is straight talk. We get straight talk, we get safety and security for our community, and we are so blessed to have Jerry Weiland as part of our community, and I'm personally grateful to call him a friend. Thank you.
We are very honored to have so many special guests with us tonight. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for coming. One of our special guests is Mrs. Amanda Soto. She is Congressman Darren Soto's wife. She's formerly a teacher 9 years. She also taught at Celebration K through 8. We were very, very honored to have her there. And she's going to help me present a very special award. We have something for Amanda first.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. So tonight, the Kissimmee Police Department will be receiving a very special addition to their force. On August 18th, two Kissimmee police officers, Sergeant Sam Howard and Officer Matthew Baxter, lost their life in the line of duty. Sergeant Howard, a 10-year veteran, left behind a wife, Billy Jo, and daughter, Unique, age 17. Officer Baxter left behind a wife, also a Kissimmee Police Department officer, and 4 daughters, ages 7 months to 7 years. Sam Howard was described by Chief Odell as a hard worker, dedicated, and a man with the biggest smile you've ever seen. Also compassionate, and many other things he said that he shared. There are times in your life when you're reminded of the fragility of life. These men gave their lives. Their families will always miss them every day for the rest of their lives. The residents of Celebration are humbled by the service and sacrifice of these men that they gave to others. The community of Celebration, through a fundraising project, and that's the old calendar outdated in your seat, but I just want to show you where the funds came from. We're donating funds for German Shepherd Canine Puppy to the Kissimmee Police Department. And Billy Jo and Unique, if you would come up, please. Could you please all stand and join me in honoring Billy Jo and Unique? And Megan, this is our stand-in German Shepherd. Billy Jo has graciously agreed to name the puppy that we're going to get Sam, so that we may honor his memory.
In the words of Lieutenant Napier, spoken to your daughter, from now and forever, you don't stand alone, you don't suffer alone. You're never alone because all these people are here for you. Thank you for all you both have sacrificed.
Such a luck.
Enzo. Oh, that's my nephew's name. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. How are you? You want to call him again, first off? Once I leave him.
If you don't mind, before we move, can I have someone just take a picture of my camera so I can send it to staff right away so they can...
While he's doing that, I want to recognize our sponsors. While he's doing that, I want to recognize our sponsors for the calendar project, and if they would come join us out in the lobby as soon as we exit with everyone in this group. They sponsored the calendar and helped us with all the advertising and distribution. Can we get a picture real quick with the board, and then they got to get back to work.
Do you want to go over here?
How about over here? Yeah, you guys could come into the middle up here.
Can you make it better?
Thank you. Everybody can sit down. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to leave you standing up. Sorry. Thank you, Megan. Yeah, we're going to go outside. Okay.
We're going to see which one's more well behaved. Mine's still a puppy. We may have a job for you.
Over there. Dana, chicken. Dana.
Sit. Left. But
I'm not sure. David, what are you doing? Looks like a mouse.
If I could, I would just like, on behalf of the men and women of the Kissimmee Police Department, our elected officials, and of course BJ and Unique, say thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts. This is an extremely generous gift in memory of Sam, and we look forward to, in the not too distant future, having our new Sam out on the street helping to keep you safe. So thank you, board and community, very much. We appreciate you. It's a new puppy. Oh, a new. Well, actually, it'd be a new dog. It's not. Well, I guess we can call yours a puppy, so we'll say new puppy. So, but our puppies are ready to work the day we get them. So we get them from a broker that's specifically for police canines, and so we just have to get them certified once we get them in. But they're ready to go to work day one. So again, thank you very much. Thank you.
Gentlemen and ladies, as you go, thank you very much for your
Thank you all.
service. Our prayers go with you, and we think about you every day.
Thank you, and I want to thank Chick-fil-A, too, for feeding everybody. I really appreciate that, the records. And everyone, you're welcome to move up if you'd like. Everybody move on up so you can hear better, because they're not coming back. They like us, but, you know, the meetings.
Actually, we can stay back there and close the
That's what. Why is everybody coming up here?
This is not a good sign. We want to get close.
All right, now
Maybe we can keep one of the police that are here. Maybe can we borrow one for that?
that'd be important.
Can we keep one for the next couple hours? One of the sheriffs? I think we may need it.
How long is Jerry here for?
Jerry. Oh, he's going to stay. Maybe he's going to stay.
I gotta get you.
I do bring back blocked all the tough meetings.
This thing was a sheriff's office.
Actually, I've actually just been carrying it since the hurricane. Seriously. I got a concealed carry permit. Oh, yeah, he's going to stay right.
If you see me running, I try to keep up because it means something's gone horribly wrong. I don't run for any other reason.
All right, our next item on the agenda is the sheriff's office discussion, which will be led by Officer Jerry Weiland.
Anyway, thank you for the kind words and the little plaque there and the silver spoon. I'm going to go home and make some ice cream and eat it.
Shovel.
It's small.
Shovel ice cream.
I'll shovel ice cream. That sounds bad. Go get a box of donuts, too. Anyway, thanks for having us out tonight. I brought out Detective Ryan Wacker, Deputy Joe Whitson, and then Captain Alex Guevara, all with the Sheriff's Office. So we've given a couple minutes to come out here and discuss some of the recent crime trends and things here in Celebration. Yes, there were some car burglaries. We're actively investigating those, and I'm proud to say the nice people that came out and took advantage of your kindness out here and broke into your cars have been arrested. 3 arrests were made, and I think Detective Wacker is in the process of writing up 45 warrants for their arrests. So they're going to be in jail for quite some time, or we certainly hope so. One real quick factor, if I could tell you you got an 83% chance of winning the lottery, would you put down $1?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. 83% of you have left your cars unlocked, and that's 83% of the crimes in Celebration would have been easily prevented by locking your doors. That simple. One of the cars had a computer charger plugged in and running underneath a stack of papers on the seat. What would that kind of think? Hey, there's a computer in there. Smashed the window and took nothing because there was no computer in there. So anything like that gives the impression of a valuable inside the car. Doors unlocked, unfortunately, is an easy target. I've said before, and not to scare anybody, and this is not just in Celebration, but anywhere in Osceola County, anywhere in the world, there is a criminal on every street corner looking for an easy opportunity. An unlocked door of your car, unlocked door of your house, things sitting outside unattended is no longer able to do that, unfortunately, in today's world. Celebration, Disney World, wherever, it's just not possible. So please lock your stuff up. And it's an easy crime prevention method. We have the tire and rim theft people. We are still working on identifying those people. That is a county-wide, statewide trend. A set of tires and rims off of a stock car is about $3,000 or more. These people can take off those tires and rims in probably 10 minutes or less and sell them for a hefty profit. I don't make that much per hour, but they can by doing those couple of those a night. Real easy. So we're still working on those. We have a couple of people identified. We got a couple of leads that the detectives are working on. Now it's just the point of pinning it to them and charging with the crime. So forensic evidence found at the scene, things like that is being processed. So hopefully we'll get a good resolution to that one, just like the car burglaries. And again, just because these 3 were arrested, there's another 3 more right in line behind them. One of the, Ryan, what was the quote? Why fish in a pond with one big fish when I can go to a pond with all the big fish in it? is what one of the suspects told us their reason for coming to Celebration. Celebration, as nice as it is, has that stigma that everyone in here is a millionaire and everyone can afford to lose a couple of things. Honest to God, that's what they've told us. So, not that you're a target specifically, but they're coming out here, and like I said, there's a bad guy out there looking for that easy opportunity. Lock your things up. Easy as that. Sheriff's Office, through Joe's division, the Crime Prevention and Community Services Division, we offer free home security surveys. We'll come out to your house, even your business. Especially trained deputies. We go to several hundred hours of crime prevention school, which Joe and I have completed. We'll come out to your house and we'll look for ways to help lessen your chances of being a target for a crime. Nothing's 100% guaranteed. That's a free service. Your taxes are paying for that. We're happy to come out to your house. It takes 25 minutes, 30 minutes or so to walk around your house, and we'll kind of give you some tips of things to do. So we encourage everybody, even everybody on the board, come on out, give us a call. We're happy to come out to your house for free. We have a women's safety awareness class as well that's held once a month, free at the Sheriff's Office for women only. They don't even let guys instruct. It tells you that 90% of crime prevention is awareness in that case. So you're not doing a whole bunch of defensive work, but a lot of the classes is awareness. Some of it is also kicking things and punching things like that, but most of it is awareness thing. That's, again, free. So please take advantage of that. The article, that's this month, Chair, that I put in, for the November issue of Celebration News, all that information is going to be in there on all the free services that we provide. So please pick up a copy, read through it, look for this ugly mug. You'll see all the good information in there. So we have time for a couple of questions, board.
Jerry, you said for people to call, like for the home inspection and that sort of thing. Who do they call for that? Do they contact the non-emergency number, the sheriff's line? Which is the
crime prevention number for the home inspections is 348-1190. That's 407 area code. Again, that'll be in the Celebration News as well for November. So again, we are working on it just because maybe you don't see a deputy. We have unmarked vehicles. We've got other investigative tools out there in use. You may not see it, but it's there. Trust me, it is. We've spent many hours driving through Celebration, all hours of the day and night, looking for these people. We happen to catch them in BVL, but we had stuff linking them to the scenes here. Biggest thing also, unlocking your doors, is please call in suspicious activity or people. Somebody recently posted something about this happened 45 minutes ago. Well, that doesn't do me a whole lot of good when you've given them a 45-minute head start. Call it in as you see it. Don't go, well, maybe it's a neighbor. Call us. Let us figure it out. Don't confront anybody. Don't try to get yourself run over. Let us come out. We've got guns to shoot back.
So, Jerry, if I see something suspicious, should the first thing that I do be call the sheriff or post on social media?
You want me to be sarcastic? Or yeah, call the sheriff's office.
Just making sure that's totally clear.
Call the And that number is 407-348-2222 for non-emergency or 911. If you don't remember the non-emergency number, call 911. The same people answer both lines. They're going to pick up the 911 first, obviously, if there's an emergency going on. So, yeah, call the sheriff's office. Posting pictures and putting pretty things on Facebook really don't do any good. Honestly, it doesn't. I don't look at the back porch maybe once every couple of days. So if you put something on there, then they have a 2.5-day head start, and that doesn't really do us any good either. So call us right away. Don't shrug it off. Please call us. So, any other questions of the board or anybody out there?
This young lady right here has had her hand up for a while.
You have a question?
Did she forget it?
No. Were you just stretching?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. I'll be outside if you have. We can talk later.
Jerry, is there any the people that are stealing the tires? Is there any kind of car or truck that would they have to have a big vehicle in order to do that, or could be anything?
Yeah, it's very possible they're driving a van. An incident that happened down at Champions Gate down in May. Was it May?
June, I believe.
May or June. The bad guys actually stole somebody's car from there and exited the gate. One of the vehicles was a big white van, and then the victim's car that they stole as well. So it could be a white van, it could be a pickup truck. We don't know.
That car was found in Spring Lake last week.
Yeah, that car was found in Spring Lake as parked on the road.
But typically, it'd be bigger. It'd be like a truck or a van.
It could be. I mean, it's hard to get 4 sets of tires into a Pinto's trunk, but I would imagine it's a larger size vehicle. But I don't want anybody to hone down and go, well, that's not a van, don't worry about it. If something's parked on the street, something doesn't look right, call. These guys are probably working in at least pairs, but again, we don't know. It could be 3, could be just 1. But somebody hanging around a car at 3 in the morning is probably not a poster child for a special award.
Jerry, out of curiosity, I don't know if you can share this, the 3 individuals you apprehended, were they from Osceola County?
One was, from over in BVL.
Okay.
So they weren't kids, and I think that's their part-time job. So, yes, ma'am.
What should we do about people who are racing down Celebration Avenue in the middle of the night?
You can always give us a call on that one. For any traffic violation, we have to observe the violation. Again, don't put yourselves in danger. Try to go out and jump in the road and videotape them, things like that. Don't get hurt over that. We have to witness the violation to take action on it. We may already have a deputy in the area that can kind of cut them off and then see that violation occur, and we're more than happy to write them as many tickets as we can. So, yeah, please call that in. A lot of times, unfortunately, if we're on a robbery up on 192 somewhere, it might be 20 minutes or longer, who knows. But call it in. You never know the chance that we catch them right off the bat. So it'll be fun. I giggle a little bit when we get those. So.
Sure, in that vein, I believe Sheriff Gibson said that the community volunteers would have access to the radar gun. Is that training taking
I know
place,
that program is still being worked on. That's details that I'm not aware of right now. So, is it a possibility? I heard there was talk of doing parking tickets and all that, but I've got personal opinions on those. But as soon as we get more information on that, we'll be able to release that.
Okay.
But Jerry, by calling these things in, it allows, I know we've had other details come in, like there's a specific, I'm going to get the name wrong, but the traffic unit detail that comes in, and they're able to enforce some of these things when we come in and see these things, and the way that we do that is by calling in and letting you guys know that we have a problem.
Right. We also have a traffic hotline number. Joe, do you have that offhand? 544...
I bet it's on the website.
It's on the website as well as on our app, which is on the Android and Google markets, or Apple and Google markets. And it's on the. But we have a traffic hotline number. Joe's looking it up. But you can call the sheriff's office directly on that as well.
On
Go ahead. Yeah.
cell service, there's a link.
407-344. 5253. That goes to a traffic hotline number, and what happens there, our traffic unit picks up the line, they write that down on their sheet and they go, okay, this is the trouble area. Then they send the guys in the unmarked cars and the motorcycles out, and they write their mother's tickets. So if you get stopped by them, you're probably going to get a ticket. So yeah, we're out there. Road units are out there. The CDD, for those who don't know, they pay the sheriff's office through an interlocal agreement to have me here, do a lot of community and crime prevention, things like that. I'm here 40 plus hours a week, and I vary my shifts, I vary my days, I vary as many things to keep things off kilter as much as possible, so nobody's really aware that I'm off on any specific days. Your taxes pay for additional deputies that come out here. Those deputies also cover all the calls up and down 192, anywhere from Four Corners, Reunion, Champions Gate, all the way down to Medieval Times, and if there's something big happening in St. Cloud, they're going to go there as well. So having me here is a guarantee. If it's something that big and explosions are, I'm going there too. But I'm here all those hours as much as I can during the week and weekends as well. So the CDD on my days off, or to supplement me, they even bring in more off-duty deputies. Some of them are in unmarked cars, some of them, and they're there mainly for traffic enforcement, as well as helping out the zone units here and there, but mainly for traffic is what they're here for.
Jerry, another way for people to contact the Sheriff's Office is on the cell service app. And there's a link to the phone number, and then there's a link to your mobile app.
There you go. So cell service is another good
opportunity.
But store those numbers in your phone. 911, hopefully everybody knows, but the non-emergency, store it in your phone, speed dial. Give us a call anytime you see anything that looks out of place. Learn your neighbors. As I've written an article about before, sometimes we get calls for a suspicious vehicle parked in front of my house for 3 days. The deputy gets out there and it's registered to the neighbor. If you don't know which neighbors Power it is, how are we going to know which one's really a bad guy? So learn your neighbors, learn what belongs in your neighborhood, learn what looks right, learn what doesn't look right, so you can call us in. But if you have any questions, call it in, let us decide. Easy as that. Anything else?
Thank you guys for coming out.
It's great to be here.
You got one back there.
I'm sorry. No, we got all night.
My name is Barbara, and I saw recently that back in Hong there was some discussion about possibly using the public for a substation. Is there anything to that that's real?
Yeah, Sheriff Gibson, I know he's looking into that right now, trying to coordinate with the county to purchase those buildings, or the old Publix building, try to bring it up with other divisions of the county, code enforcement, things like that, so more entities of the county can utilize that building. So they're still working on getting that together, and hopefully something that, the building would require a lot of remodeling and safety, security things to be added in there to make it safe, and so it's a time process. Captain, good. Captain has a few extra words.
Good evening, Board. Captain Guevara, also the County Sheriff's Office. Great question. Thank you for bringing it up, because I can use everybody here to push that issue on the West Office. We've been trying to get that office for quite some time now, and it's a matter, obviously, of funding. The county is looking at it. We are looking at it. We are moving forward with it. It'll be a great station for us. Visibility would be great, and if you guys can know anybody in the county and all that, and let them know that, hey, that would be great for the sheriff's office. That would help us a lot. I mean, the county's on board with it, but having the community, and this community per se, I've worked the west side of the county since 2003, and I worked Celebration for many years, and when I was in property crimes, I worked a lot of burglary trends in this community and so on and so forth. So, but this community has always been good to us, extremely. We can't thank you guys enough for that. And but that's a great great question. And if you guys have anybody in the county, bump them and tell them, hey, listen.
We can be vocal.
Well, that would be awesome. We would definitely take that. There's a lot of positive for that. A lot of people, even the Gaylord Palms, came up to us, told us, what can we do to make that happen? So, and I told them, well, you're the largest chain of resorts in the world. Marriott owns that, so I think you guys have some weight on that. But more than businesses, I'm a community person, and the community has the biggest voice. And Celebration has a huge voice, always have, and we're happy and proud of that. So, but thank you. Real quick, I am the captain of this whole division. West 192 over Four Corners, Point Siena, intersection City, Campbell City. So if something bad goes on, it's on me. So you guys can blame me for that. I can guarantee you and assure you that I have my deputies patrol this community with marked units, unmarked units. Rim thefts, I know it's huge. Sometimes we can invest a couple of dollars and get some locks on them, and that will definitely prevent some of this crime trends. The problem with the rim thefts, I don't know if you guys know the area, obviously you guys do, but it happens in the back where easy access from I-4, easy access out. So we have, Polk County have experienced those issues, Lake County, Orange County. So it is a trend, it is organized. So we're dealing with organized crime. And
not the mafia.
Yeah, no mafia. So a lot of property crimes are very organized nowadays because via phone, via everything. And I will tell you guys, if you guys go to Craigslist, hopefully you guys don't become victims of it, but if you do, you can go to Craigslist and there's apps where people sell this rims and tires. That would be great also. Any questions for me? Because, I mean, somebody can blame me for something. Here's me.
One quick question. You said about advocating for this substation out here, and you're talking to the commissioners, I would guess.
We have meetings with the commissioners.
No, I'm saying you're talking about us advocating through the commissioners.
Listen, any help we can get, it'll be awesome, because
there's no sense in us coming to Sheriff Gibson and saying we really want this because he knows it.
We know because we want it. We really do. I worked in the office. I supervise over 100 deputies, and I'm in an office. I have an office. My office personally is smaller than a closet, and I have no window in my office. And
Detective Wacker's office used to be an old jail cell.
Yes, yes, with a toilet in it. Yeah, so we have grown our facilities off Point Santa Boulevard. We share the office with a fire department, and we are tucked away. And I don't know about you guys, but law enforcement should be tucked away. We should be very visible in the community, very accessible to the community, and that's what we're trying to do. So everybody have access, not only the residents, but also the tourists that visit our area, our county, have easy access to our services. We're not intended to hide from nobody here. We intended to serve everybody here equally, and we love to do that. We really do. So from Sheriff Ross Gibson, he has a private engagement tonight. He sent me. He says hi for everybody here, and make sure that he's saying his regards for everybody here present in this room and the whole community.
Are there any hearings going to be held on your
a lot of the meetings
substation out this way, or meetings?
I've been present in some of the meetings. The county already invested in a private entity to engineering the office space. So they're moving forward with it. They were looking at some funding. I'm pretty sure, because it's public, so I'm pretty sure there's going to be some public meetings about it. But I don't see the commissioners, anybody voting against it. But sometimes when the community gets involved and add a little more motivation, it helps things out and expedite things a little bit.
Eric has already offered to start a petition for us, so look on the internet for that now.
Okay.
We'll help you out.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Any more questions for me? Anything else? I just want to say hi and see my face. I'm the captain out here. And, I'm not going to hide from you guys. So any issues, you guys can call the office. And Jerry.
I'll give you his personal.
Hey, I get calls 24/7. I don't care. So other than that, thank you very much.
Thank you for
God bless everybody, and have a good evening. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jerry.
One quick second. We also have a ride-along program at the Sheriff's Office. If you see me around town, I've got the applications out there. You'll be able to, once approved and all that, ride with a deputy for a shift, half a shift, day shift, night shift. It gives you a great impression. Not what you have in here. See what's happening out in the real world outside the bubble. And again, that's a free service that's available to you all. So if you see me around town, ask me. I've got the applications in my car.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jerry. All right, well, let's move on to owner's comment period. The first person I have up here is Debbie Wisniewski. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. This is going to be a long meeting, so please hold your remarks to 3 minutes.
I promise I will. And the last name is Wisniewski.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Everybody gets it. It's kind of confusing. I was actually asked to speak by several homeowners who own properties that are managed by the CCMC. They have sustained substantial damage to their properties in regards to roof and the hurricanes, and there's a lot of questions that are going on about insurance. I've also had the ability to inspect some of the properties for the homeowners. One thing that comes up is the roofs on the CCMC. For the townhouses is there's damage to the roofs from the hurricane. They're not allowed to tarp the roofs, is what they've been told, because they don't own the roofs. So the roofers will not tarp those roofs. And this is coming from the different roofers. In addition to that, they have had their insurance companies out. The insurance companies are not paying for the roofs because they don't maintenance the roofs. So there's a question about why are they carrying insurance on something that they can't collect for, that they can't even repair? And this is something that just needs to be brought up and discussed and looked over. As for the properties that we have on Celebration Avenue in the South Village, we were initially contacted in the spring by residents who had their roof removed. The roof was not tarped. The roofers left for the weekend. Water came through the roof and created substantial damage to a number of units. The homeowners had contacted Teresa with the CCMC, and she was supposed to send out a contractor to do an estimate. They received notice from their tenant that the stuff was repaired without their authorization. They were not aware that there were supposed to be any repairs done. They have since lost, the tenant is not renewing their lease as a result of the delay in the repairs, as well as the amount of damage that was there. They don't even know what was done. And that was done to a couple townhomes. Most recently, I was asked to come out to the townhomes on the 1200 block of Celebration Avenue to assess some damages there. When I was looking at some of the homes, it came out that the roofs were not placed on property, and the homeowners have gone to their insurance companies. Their insurance companies have denied the claims because the claims are not covered, as the insurance says, for reasons of faulty workmanship. So there is a big problem with mashes and water intrusion in these properties. We're talking electrical and all that type of stuff. I'm licensed in the state as a public insurance adjuster, and what that means is that I negotiate claims for home and business owners when they have damage. I work for the homeowners, not the insurance companies, and I represent the homeowners' interests in that. So there's a lot of damage that's going on, a lot of people unaware of exactly what's covered, and at this point we don't know exactly what we can do. We can't really do anything without some type of cooperation or assistance. And I'm going to let the next person on the list, Michael Capilli, he's going to come up and finish out.
Okay.
And I'll be less than 2 minutes. My name is Michael Capilli, 1528 Resolute Street. I'm also a licensed public adjuster. We would like permission to speak with the CCMC. Condominium owner, well, all insurance policies are complicated, whether they be residential, business owners, commercial, association, insurance policies. And there's also laws, state statutes in Florida in the 712 chapter about how you have to go about things. It's very complicated, and many homeowners and even some of the information that they're receiving is just erroneous. I heard something today, and my reply was, where'd they get that from? It's just really confusing. And in a situation where a homeowner, in most of the condominium associations, have a secondary policy. The association policy is primary, and they won't pay unless the association does something. And they're meeting up against a lot of pushback. You know, call your insurance company. Your insurance company won't do anything till the association insurance policy comes. So we'd like an opportunity to speak to CCMC and see if we can offer some assistance. One thing you should know, we don't get paid unless we get money from the insurance, so all this would be free, and we don't mind doing that. We spent a lot of time during the hurricane giving people advice with their insurance companies, especially with SOLA, the apartment complex there. They also received a lot of erroneous advice, and we just want the opportunity to help set all that stuff straight. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Susan, will you comment on these first two speeches?
Well, they're under HOA. They're not condominiums. The units are owned wholly by the person, and the lot are owned by the person who owns the property, who's on the title. I know several owners said, can I tarp my house? And I said, you protect your property. That's the most important thing. At this point, that's really
I can add also, though, with the roofing project that's going on right now, our stand has been that there's a contract with the owner's representative who wrote the specs for the roof, and there's a contract with the roofers. We are holding the owner's rep and the roofers accountable to finishing that work. So out right now is they are going through the final items that the owner's rep has said need to be completed for them to be done with the job. Once that's completed, the owner's rep's going to sign off on it. And if all that work is completed the way it's supposed to be done, then there shouldn't be any more water intrusion. If there's continued water intrusion after both parties are signed off and said they're done, then we'll have to take action necessary at that step to fix it. We are going to have a meeting next Wednesday, November 1st at 6 o'clock. I believe Susanna sent an email today. And we're going to have the owner's rep there so that the homeowners can come and they can ask questions. They can see the work that was done. They can talk about items that they may have questions on with their individual homes. But until then, I have to let the owner's rep and the roofers finish this job so that they can tell me that they're done and we can move forward accordingly.
So when was that meeting again, Steve?
Next Wednesday, November 1st at 6 o'clock.
And is that here in the 851 building?
Yes.
Okay.
And Steve, you kept referring to an owner's rep. That sounds like it could be anyone. What kind of owner's rep do you have?
He's a licensed engineer that has a specialty background in roofing. So he's worked through Community Association Institute. He was hired. None of us on staff are roofers. None of us are professional roofers. So we go out and we find the expert, the subject matter expert. They write the specs for you, and then they oversee the project. So would they have to be held accountable to their contract? And there is money that has been withheld until we get this done. And the owner's rep today, and I think he said it when he was here last month, he again stated that if it's not done the way it needs to be done, we'll turn around and we'll hire another company and get it done. And it'll be on them to pay for it. So we're going to keep pushing them to get this job completed the way it's supposed to be completed.
So who is the person? It sounds like there's a lot of questions about whether I can do something or not, and whether if I do it, then the insurance company is going to get mad. Who is the person on staff for them to call to sit there and say, I want to do this, and they can get an answer, they can get an answer that day? Who should they call? Who should the homeowner
Right
call?
now, Susan is leading the roofing project. Yeah,
okay.
So they can contact Susan. If Susan's not available, they can contact me, and I can point them in the right direction. I know a lot of that because it's a service area, they have their supplemental documents, and we have a matrix that we put together to try and clear some of that confusion that shows who's responsible for what. But Susan's right; they're not condos, so they do operate a little bit differently than a condo association. And we can help. We can help answer those questions if they are confused.
We have a policy. We'll get back to them that day, so they will hear that day if they call, right?
Sure,
That's your
absolutely.
policy,
Yeah.
right?
Well, the
Okay.
policy is within 24 hours to return phone calls and 48 hours for emails.
Steve, I believe you told me that we're considering hiring another engineer to verify that the work has been done
We are
properly.
hiring a fourth party just to ensure, because there's been so many questions with this project, we want to make sure that it's done complete the way it's supposed to be completed. So it's really a backup to come and make sure the owner's rep has done what he's supposed to do properly. And we had the conversation today. What we need is for the water intrusion to stop, and I need the experts to fix it. I don't want to tell them how to fix it because I don't know. They're the experts. They need to fix it. They need to get it done. And if it's not fixed when they're done signing off on it, then we need to take action, and we're prepared to do that.
All right, let's move on then. Next person is Rand Saylor. Rand, did you want to wait till later in the meeting, or is?
I will go when.
Well, you have a tab section in here. You are in the tab action items. So then let's just wait then. All right, Mike Jackson.
Good evening, Mike Jackson, 413 Sycamore Street. I probably will take a full 3 minutes, sorry. I'll read fast. So tonight, I want to share with you a few perceptions or feelings that a number of people have expressed to me that I hope helps to shape your conversation when you get to the agenda item dealing with the CCMC contract management extension. I think it's agenda item 1 later today. A number of those people are here tonight also. So a couple things under headings. Transparency. During the conversations over the past several months, there was always an indication that CROA would reach out to residents for input. The opportunity for community input has been restricted to homeowner comments at the beginning of various CROA meetings. It has not been an inclusive process, unlike what was accomplished with the Education Task Force, which I'm sure you all remember. Every resident that has spoken publicly about the HOA contract, with the exception of a few past CROA board members, have expressed a desire for an open, transparent, and competitive bid process to evaluate all options. Under alignment, one of the most significant disconnects in the previous contract was that CCMC is rewarded for adding headcount. With the lack of any incentives or disincentives for CCMC to control costs, it perpetuates the lack of alignment with a markup on labor that obviously includes a fee element. We should have transparency for each item that makes up the 34% on full-time and 20% markup on part-time for labor. Things such as work comp, insurance, retirement, and other things should all be enumerated, and one element will be the CCMC fee income. This number was historically 10%. To achieve alignment, this item should be converted to a fixed dollar and added to the monthly management fee. To continue without full knowledge and transparency of all costs, as we've done in the past, would be a mistake. Would you buy a personal service with this type of pricing? Until recently, CCMC would not even disclose how they were charging CROA for the current HOA contract, specifically payroll benefits. This contract was approved on 2/26/13, 8 months before the contract expiration and 1 month prior to the CROA election. The 3-minute discussion stated the reason for an early renewal was to, quote, lock in pricing, and, quote, it is our understanding one of the reasons for working this way was that we are well under industry pricing, unquote. In fact, over the course of this contract, the monthly management fee went up by 8.1%, and the payroll rate percentage went up by 20%. This was obviously not locked in pricing. And without a bid process, how can the assertion of being under industry pricing be proven? Once CCMC disclosed the current payroll charges, it was also learned that the headcount went from 42 employees to 51 employees, a 21.5% increase since the contract was signed in 2013. It has been an addition of 5 part-time and 4 full-time employees. Under independent third-party standard, and we've talked about this in other meetings, one paragraph real quick. The relatively closed process that CROA has followed in the development of the HOA contract renewal puts the fiduciary responsibility of the board members to the residents in question. It will be incumbent on the board of directors to demonstrate a third-party independent standard which will attest to the fact that we have achieved a competitive contract. The lack of a bid process to ensure objectivity makes this an even more critical factor. The board uses a bid process in a relatively large amount of its business, but the majority elected to forego it with the HOA contract, likely the single largest economic decision of the board members in their tenure. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so are there any further comments from the audience? Okay, seeing none. Steve, has the meeting been properly notified? Stated?
Yes, it has.
Noticed. Can't read.
There's some people in the back raising their hands.
I'm sorry. You did. Oh, I'm sorry. There's another page here. All right, Kathy Gordy.
Don and Kathy Gordy, 1310 Celebration Avenue. Since we have a 3-minute time frame, we're coming together, so we will take the full 6 minutes if possible.
We're going to take a little less.
So,
at a previous meeting, we expressed some concerns on the topic of the Artisan Park Service Area Committee's pursuit to change management companies. The Artisan Park Service Area Committee still is continuing that pursuit to change management companies, and I continue to urge an inclusive owner input prior to proceeding with this significant service area change. The owners, many of them are seasonal, they're property investors, or there are those who are seldom there to use the club or the facilities and amenities. I found that they are generally not fully informed and are not aware of the committee's proposed change. I've spoken with them. Some of them have limited or no knowledge at all, and some have also vocalized a sentiment that agrees with the option that they really don't want to change the management company. They're satisfied with the service they receive. They're listening to other owners. There's a fear of criticism or community exclusion inhibiting them from speaking out. So the vocalized opportunity at the club and so forth, those people they don't want to step up and be ostracized by the members of the club and their neighbors. The most recent Finance Committee report shows that the cafe is performing to budget and projected to exceed goals this year. For 2018, it shows the budget is going to do better and probably break even, maybe a small profit. So the new GM and assistant GM, along with their staff, have made excellent progress to meet those cafe goals. The Artisan Park Committee called a special meeting on Saturday, and they shared some information that identified the cost comparison for the proposed new management company. That report showed an additional $12,000 in cost to the residents. That's about $20 per owner. The report doesn't show the potential transition costs, it doesn't show increased costs for audit expenses, and it didn't highlight that there could be additional unknown costs while the contracts are being worked out, transitioned. Depends on how clearly the two companies can work together. So the committee described that $12,000 cost as an investment and no increase in assessments. The budget itself had enough room for them to absorb that extra cost, but an accurate description would be increased overhead and administrative costs. It might be better served as an additional contribution to capital reserves or even a reduction in the owner's assessment. Is this $12,000 really spent well on the additional management overhead expense? During the last Artisan Park candidate panel forum that was last evening, one of the committee members who is on the ballot for re-election urged me to share how they might reach and increase owner participation. Could the CROA's confidential survey process be duplicated for our Artisan Park owners? Seeking a buy-in from the majority of the owners provides a sound basis for directional changes. Owners' input continues to be a prudent course of action. Let's ask the owners, what is their appetite for the change in management companies and at what cost? What type of food service should the Artisan Park service area be offering? Would they prefer a snack shop? Would they like a cafe quick service? Currently, that is what is in the Artisan Park rules, regulations, strategic statement. Or do they want a restaurant and a dining venue? Expectations versus costs of supporting a cafe operation. How much are the owners willing to pay? What is an acceptable level for food service disruption at the cafe? We have a wide variety of other dining options in the area, including home delivery. I would like to suggest that we choose full transparency and disclosure. Mail all owners information describing what changes are being contemplated and what are the associated increased costs. Formally poll the Artisan Park owners to gauge for sentiment, to guide the direction of the club activities, the type and level of food service related to cost, relative to cost, and for a significant step of changing management companies. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
And thank you for Leonard for attending.
Oh, down there. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any others that would like to address the board? Please step forward.
It's about subjects you've already spoken about, but just a few quick words.
Can you state your name and address, please?
My name is Brian Taylor. I live at 1204 Celebration Avenue, and I'm sure you're all very, very aware. I'd like to say, you know, your home is your castle. It is. It's a place you go home to, and you expect it to still be there and be in one piece. Last April, we had new roofs put on the houses. We said at the time that the people and the labourers who were working on the properties, some as young as 14 or 15 years old, and young ladies on the roofs as well, that we had concerns that the quality of the workmanship being done was very, very poor. And we said, the first storm we get, guess what? I bet it's going to leak. And nearly every home in South Village at the back on the lower roofs leaked. My lower roof, for example, they did it at 8 o'clock at night. It was dark. I said, what are you doing? It's dark. Why are you ripping all that off in the dark? And they replaced it in the dark. They couldn't even see what they were doing. So it leaked. We had water pouring in at the back of the house. It's done thousands and thousands of dollars worth of damage. I'm not the only one. There's lots of people there. Then we find out that the so-called engineering consulting company actually has some sort of connection to Drake Construction. That, to me, is a conflict of interest. If they're supposed to be independently selecting a company to do a roofing job, a quality roofing job, they shouldn't have any interest at all in the company they've selected to do the job. They should have just completely dismissed them because they have shares or partnership and some sort of connection between the two companies. And this was the guy, one of the engineers who told us this. He said to us, oh, but they've got an interest in our company, we've got an interest in their company. So here we are now. They've supposedly come back to do some repairs. I was assured the guttering in the back of the house will be completely replaced. What have they done? They've just put a piece in to cover the seam that's been leaking since last April. They bodged it again. I suspect when it rains I'll have 2 leaks now instead of 1 because it'll come out of either end. They didn't replace it. Also, no one has been anywhere near the back of the property to look at the garages. To me, a roof should be flat. You look at the roofs in the rain, they do this. The shingles are not in contact with the tar paper underneath. It just ripples on the garages. All the lower roofs and the garages they didn't pay much attention to. They rushed the job. It was a very, very shoddy job. The engineer himself has said the leaks are down to poor installation of the work. I don't see anybody coming back to put that right. I've still got broken shingles on the back of the garage. No one's been able to replace those. The whole lower roof needs to come off. It needs to be replaced. They said to me, oh, you've just got a couple of loose shingles. I said, no, we had water pouring in the back of the house. Gallons and gallons and gallons of water. Robert's the same, Carl's the same, 1208's the same, 1206 next door to me the same. We went in there. They had gallons of water coming in. They're snowbirds, they weren't there. So the water just poured into their property while they weren't there. And also on the other block, etc. in North Village, as Suzanne knows, we have been so patient with this, we've run out of patience. All we want to know, are we going to get our roofs put on properly? Is devaluing going to devalue our property? It's not going to last for 30 years, or even 5 years, or 5 minutes. We just want to put it right, that's all. And we want to know that Drake Construction is going to stand up to their good name and come and put it right. They don't seem to care about their good name. They keep saying they do, but they just don't seem to care. You know, and how long do we have to wait? We've probably paid, what, $1.5 million or something for this job to be done? Somewhere in that region. And it's a terrible job. You look at the house down there, they're doing a roof on that. Fantastic job. No mess, no rubbish. We had rubbish piled out in our backyards that high. You couldn't even get in your back door. They were out there in the alleyway eating their food and left all their food laying all over the alleyway at night. They left cans of Coke. I came out one day, I had to clean the ants off the front wall of the house because they'd spilt Coca-Cola all down the front wall of the house. The whole of the house was black with ants. Go out in the backyard, cigarette butts all over the place. Looking on the roofs, cigarette butts on the roofs. They're smoking on the main roofs, which is a fire hazard. Suzanne saw the cigarette butts on our lower roof. They'd washed off the upper roof. Nails everywhere, punches galore. They didn't clean up after themselves. It was just the whole job was just a total disaster from start to finish. And I don't believe that it was Drake Construction. They must have subcontracted it to somebody else, and these people didn't know what they were doing. They had no clue how to put a roof on. None whatsoever. Whereas you look at the quality jobs in other roofs, like the one down here on the main avenue, the house being done, it looks fantastic. No mess, no rubbish, no nothing. Anyway, that's my 2 pennies. None of the residents are happy. None of them. We're just waiting, we just pray and hope we get this all put right. Please, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert, you next.
Thank you. Robert Schwartz, 1200 Celebration Avenue. I'm going to talk about the roofs again. I really thank you guys for, today was the first day that we got people to come together and tell us what was going on with this roof system. And basically Steve came up, it was very nice to say we've got to see it through, as what he said. A couple of people came in late. We got to see this process through before we can do anything else about it. I think you can feel our frustration about this, and I know I've talked to Debbie about it. I left messages for, I think, everybody on the board about this. I think we have and I told to Steve, and I think we have a communication opportunity here. And what I think we can do is, going forward, we're going to get this fixed. It's going to happen one way or another. But I think between the service areas and the homeowners, we need some liaisons. We need a little committee that gets together and helps out. Susanna, I'm sorry, I get that wrong all the time, who helps her out to do her job. She's got a lot of service areas. She can't get it done all by herself. She just can't. We've got a group of people who will happily get together and help her do that job. It just so happens we're all just frustrated up to here. I know he is too. I know she is. I know the consultants are, and I'm sure the roofer is. My one main question is the relationship between the consultants and the roofers. It's a rumor. Can anybody confirm or deny that they know each other and it's not an arm's length transaction? We were told by the consultant they're investors in our company. They chose this company because I think going back from last month's CROA meeting, it's the only people who take our job. I know it was tough to find a roofer, but they had never used these people before. It was just kind of, okay, you'll do the job, you can do it, it's within our price range. I don't know if that's true or not, but it just seems like the process of choosing them may have been rushed, maybe they weren't vetted properly, I don't know what it was. But I just want to bring out the frustration about that, and I think by us having a committee to help this process going, we meet more frequently, and we can help do the job better, be a part of the solution instead of being part of the problem. A couple other things I got while I'm out here. Updating the service area budgets online. The last one we found was in May, and I tried to look at them today, so if we can update those, we can see how those are going. And I didn't see a reserve study online either. Okay. You know, I want to see what the reserves are left. I don't even know what we paid for these roofs. And if we had a committee that went between this, I would know we paid, I know we paid $800,000, but I think that was for 3 service areas. How much did we pay for the South Village roofs? Was it $350,000? Did it take up all our reserve study? Do we have any left? What's the painting look like for next year? What's our budgets? The more we know, the less frustrated we'll be, and the more we can help out the process. And then and I think that's actually all I got. Perfect 3 minutes. Thank you very much, and thank you for volunteering, everybody.
Susan, can we address those questions that he brought up at that Wednesday meeting? Relationships and stuff like that?
That's the plan, is to be able to ask the third-party engineer exactly what the relationship is and any other questions that they have. I fully expect that they will have the answers. They will have either completed or be close to completing, and they'll be able to tell us exactly what was done. They will be hopefully they'll be signed off. They're hoping to be done by this Friday, and if that's the case, then we should have everything in place for them to be able to answer any question.
Now, will we have another engineer inspect this roof before they sign off? Because I'm concerned with what Brian brought up about the rippled roof.
Not before they sign off. I actually had an email from him today. He's getting me the final numbers. Okay. And so it'll probably take a couple of weeks to get him out here.
Jack, if the roofs are not completed to satisfaction, we have to have all of our evidence that we need to be able to take action against both companies to get it right, to get it where it needs to be. And when I say get it right, that means fix any damage inside of people's houses too that were caused by the water intrusion from the roof not being done correctly. So I know it's a frustrating process, and I really do apologize to those homeowners. But I have to make them finish their job that they were contracted to do, and then we will move forward with all of our checks and balances to have a second company come in and ensure that the owner's rep answered things appropriately. We will have the meeting next Wednesday, and then along Robert's question of budget and input on the budgets, there will be another meeting for budgets for each service area that will be coming up, and Susan and Susanna will have those posted shortly. So there'll be an opportunity for homeowners to come and ask questions about the budget also.
Can I ask that they be updated once a week? Like pick a Tuesday, Wednesday, pick a day of the week and just make sure there's an update going to the homeowners.
For the roof?
They've just gone through.
Yeah. Well, and I know a lot of homeowners are pointing out different things that they see that they say this doesn't look right, this isn't correct. And again, I have to tell that the owner's rep who said that he was contracted as the expert to come in here and tell us what needs to be done, how it's supposed to be done. I have to let him finish it and put his name and his signature on it, because if he doesn't do it right, then we'll take action. But we can certainly,
just whatever we're doing, let them know once a week, whether something's being checked or we're in a week where we're just, whatever it is, just once a week so that they get the information on a consistent basis.
Right. Well, and I'll give you another example. Today, there was some homeowners that emailed and said, well, there's only 1 or 2 people out there. So when I went out to talk to them, they're explaining to me why they only have 1 or 2 people. They feel like they can give them clear direction, they can watch them, and they can see them get it done. But my response is, I don't want to tell them how to do it. I want them to tell me how they're going to finish it, and what I want them to understand is that there should be no water intrusion at all. 0 water intrusion in those houses. So whatever they need to do to get that done, they need to do that. And they need to sign off on it, and they need to tell us that the project's done. And if we continue to have issues after that, for inside of houses, in any additional expenses for the roofing project, we will take action against them, and we'll be prepared for that.
Is it just this? I'm hearing from the South Village townhomes. I mean, virtually all the townhomes in South Village, Celebration Village, Academy Row, new roofs were put on. I guess the question: did Drake do all those?
He did. Well,
no?
not all of them. No, that
They did not do Academy Row Meeting House Green. They did Savannah Square, and they did Charleston Place, North Village townhomes.
Okay, is Savannah Square having issues?
Not as many issues.
But they are.
There are
they do have some issues, yes.
Okay, because I haven't heard anything from Academy Row. Academy Row seems to be... Okay, right. I haven't heard anything on Academy Row. They seem to be...
No, we haven't been having issues, and any time we've had a leak, the roofer that installed everything has come and repaired that in a timely manner.
You can do your due diligence. I mean, I know when we got these bids in before we chose Drake, we chose them out of 3 companies, and they might have been the lowest bid. I'm not sure if they were all, or 4 companies, I'm sorry.
Right.
It might have been the lowest bid, but it's one of those things when you do an RFP, you try to take all of your best practices as you can, but that never guarantees you're going to have success. And Drake certainly has not been a success for us.
Well, didn't the consultant, didn't he recommend Drake?
They didn't. They say they didn't recommend, and Todd was actually in the meeting. And I think what they did is we gave them. They went out to bid for us, and so we gave them the name of roofers that we know through Community Associations Institute. They knew a couple other roofers. The 4 roofers, 2 of them were much higher than everyone else, and then the other 2 were right together. And I believe in the conversation that they had with the owner's rep after interviewing, and I say they, it was Todd and Teresa, when they interviewed, they asked Drake, what do you think? We like both of these. They seem to be reputable companies. And Drake said, we have experience with both. Either one will do right by you.
I'm sorry.
You mean William John?
The owner?
William John, yes. William John.
Said they'd had experience with both.
Right. Is that true, Todd? Yes.
And William John is committed that even if...
We don't generally, we don't take bids because it's low bid. We make sure that they're a quality company.
Right.
And, everything we've done. So I'm sure we got some reassurance from somebody that's saying these guys can do the job and they'll take care of it.
I mean, William John, yes, absolutely.
Okay. And again, even more accountability to them as the owner's rep. They're supposed to be looking out for our best interests in doing these roofs. And I want the homeowners to know, I want the board to know, my communications through them, whether it be on the phone or through email, has been very clear on what our expectations are. We will not pay the rest of the money that's outstanding until these roofs are signed off on and they're approved that they're completed to where there will not be any more leaks. And there's a lot of accountability there. The specs should have been written correctly by the owner's rep, and the roofer should have done what the specs said to do. So we are holding both companies completely accountable.
This is what makes me mad. I mean, this William John's guy came in here at the last meeting, this is a month ago, and he basically gave me the impression, I'm on this is going to get fixed in a week. And here we are 4 weeks later, everybody's like, this one, it seems like the issue is this William John's guy, and that, I would be all for ratcheting up the pressure in there because that guy's not done right by us.
This particular project at South Roof specifically has not gone well from the beginning to the end, and it affects the homeowners.
He said he was going to fix it, and he's not. I mean, it's been 4 weeks, and we're still, it doesn't sound like much has gotten done.
No, they need to tell us that it's completed, so we can take action.
Steve, was there a general contractor on the job overseeing the roofer?
Well, throughout the enther project, I can't comment whether or not they. But today, when I went out there was the owner's rep and
before everything. But initially, when we started this, was there a general contractor overseeing the roofer?
It was the owner's rep and then the roofing company.
Yeah, the roofing contractor is a contractor,
right.
And then we have William John and Associates, who's the Jeff Mansfield was a former general contractor.
But he didn't come until later after there was an issue.
But he's been part of this project from the initiation.
And he's an owner in William John and Associates. so he's very familiar with it.
Well, we really want to give this priority. This has been way too long.
I agree. They say that this is the fix, so sign off on it and we'll move forward from there.
Hope they're looking at the stucco.
So you're saying Wednesday, a week from now, it's
Next
done?
Wednesday's the meeting.
Well, when's the work going to be done, though?
Well, we would love for it to be done by Friday. Now they're less roofers because they feel like they have better opportunity to oversee how they're completing the job. Again, I do not want to micromanage them on how they're doing this job. I want them, and I've been clear in communications that the longer they take, the more chance there is for water intrusion in homes, meaning more responsibility to them to have to fix the inside of these units. So whether that be paying for it back or fixing it themselves, however they do it, but the longer they take, the more they have on them to fix and to restore.
Okay. All right. With that,
that's a good transition.
Let's end the owner's comment period then. Okay, and we'll verify the meeting's been properly noticed. I'm sorry, one more? Okay.
Pledge of Allegiance.
There you go.
Thank you, folks. Carl Fury, 1202 Celebration Avenue. Just one more thing about the roof here, a few questions. Really concerned with the timeline of Friday being the day that they're going to be ready to go for this, because clearly this isn't a weak job that, I don't know, I'm working during the day, so unfortunately I'm not able to see how many workers are there. But in my opinion, one worker working on all the townhomes in South Village there's no way that that's going to be done effectively by that point. So I would really like a realistic expectation of this, getting this completed, even to the point of where then we can hold them to the fire again. As a way of what money has been paid, how much of this job has actually been paid out already? I mean, are we talking 95% and we're holding 5% back? And I mean, personally, I don't know what the roofers are thinking, but in the same respect, they've been paid, if they've been paid 95% of their job, they have no hurry. They're in no rush. I mean, to them, they've clearly botched the job to begin with, and there is no expectation, it seems like, from them other than going, yeah. And I mean, from what I've heard, there have been not confrontations, but communication with the roofers, and they went, no, it looks okay. This is all right. And then on the other hand, the consultant is going, no, this isn't okay. This isn't right. So, I mean, there's just, nobody seems to be on the same page here. They're working off of a spreadsheet. Supposedly, I forgot the company's name, but Jeff over at Johns Mansfield there said there was going to be a report that he was going to give, that was going to be put out, and that we as the owners have been asking for this report now for, Robert, Brian, how long?
Yeah,
2 weeks. About 2 weeks. This report apparently has not been available, nor has it been given at that point, we were told. I find it hard to believe that we have a list of items to be taken care of other than the ones that were given by the homeowners. And if we're only working on that list, clearly there's a problem with that, because the consultant who supposedly knows what they're doing should be the person giving that list. So, and there was even a mention of the membrane, white membrane that's put over the top of our doorways, as potentially was sent off to a lab to be tested, as that wasn't the proper grade. And this is coming directly from Jeff over at the, so I mean, there's a lot wrong here. And we're really confused as to why this report doesn't exist yet, and how we're already started work when there is no official list of what needs to be done, only a list combined and kind of hinged together here. So, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Steve, let me understand. Yep. You're meeting on Wednesday.
Yep.
Okay. When's this final report supposed to be out?
Well, first let me comment on what the report is. Any of the feedback we received from the homeowners on additional issues that they noticed, those were all sent to the owner's rep. And then the other part of the report is the one that the owner's rep generated based on what he saw not being completed on the project, that he's holding the roofers responsible to complete. That will be available Wednesday at that meeting, so they'll have that report there. The second part of that question is there's still $60,000 that has not been paid, that's sitting out there that that we are withholding. And if we have to use that $60,000 to pay another roofing company to come finish this job, then we'll do that. But this is all part of the accountability. Again, I'm not micromanaging the project because I'm not a roofing expert, and it won't hold up in a court if we need it to. So the owner's rep has to hold them accountable to getting this work done.
I think William John needs to stand up
and
his job.
To clarify one more thing that was said, you have an additional professional engineer.
Correct.
That's being contracted for currently. That's going to come in and look over the shoulder, say, of William John and the roofing company both.
And we're going to hold William John accountable to the cost for that additional,
for any damages.
Right. And unfortunately, because of the uncertainty of this project, we're forced to hire another contractor because no one's comfortable. The homeowners aren't comfortable, we're not comfortable with it, and we need to make sure that it's done properly.
All right. Any additional comments? Okay.
But was not William John the people who inspected it the first time?
Yes.
Also? And said it was okay?
They've never completed this project to this point. They've not said that this roof has been done up to this point.
They've never done the final sign-off, Carl.
Not the final, but prior to this, when they had done the job and they had finished our roofs, so that other than the inspector, after they were told a certain amount of problems that work did exist, they initially, from what we were told, they had stated, yes, the roofs are okay. That's why we didn't have, I don't remember the first guy's name, or if it was Jeff even. It was not Jeff. So there was another contract person from that inspected the roofs and had passed up until that point, from what we were told. From the time
Well, hold on for a second. If you want to speak, we need to have you come up to the mic.
Well, there have actually been two people that I'm aware of from William John and Associates. Doug Wallace is one of the owners. Jeff Mansfield is the other osner. And they have an engineer. His name is Ted. I don't know his last name. But he was doing in-process inspections and final inspections. And then Osceola County was also doing an inspection.
I think what it boils down to is we can't do anything until someone says the job's complete. I'll give a perfect example. I recently hired a contractor at my own home to do a job. The job was done, the electrician finished, and they left. Job was done. Everything's good. I go outside, looks like crap. I pick up the phone, and I called them, and they said, oh, we're not actually all the way done yet because we haven't signed off on the project. We haven't given you the paperwork yet that says we're complete. Lo and behold, they came back out to do their final inspection and made someone come in and redo it. Now it looks great. Now I have a sheet of paper from them that says they're done with the project and we can move on forward. If I had that sheet of paper that said, we're done, pay me your money, and it looks like crap still, that's when I turn around and I can go to a court or I can go to someone and say, look, I paid for this, I didn't get this, what's happening? But until we have that, that's what we're waiting on now, correct?
It's a warranty, and yes.
In a nutshell. In a nutshell.
Yes. Yes.
A big nutshell.
I will not let it rest until I see Jeff Manfield's signature on that sheet of paper that says the project is done, and he knows that. I've been very clear with him on that. This is not over until he signs it.
That sets the recourse if we have to have recourse.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's his reputation on the line, it's Drake's reputation on the line. It's not done until they sign off on it.
Okay.
And I think the follow-up question to that is, at what point do we say time's up? I mean, we have to tell them eventually that's it. Yeah. But what is most important to me is that there's not water running in homeowners' houses. I got to get that fixed.
Okay. Thank you.
So Wednesday's a drop dead date.
Wednesday's the date for him to meet with the owners to give an update on where they are. And we'll have a lot better idea of where they are on Wednesday.
All right, additional comments? All right. C, let's verify the meeting's been properly noticed.
Yes, it has.
Okay, verify we have a quorum.
Yes, you do.
And please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
The flag.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So with that, we will call the meeting to order. It's now 7:48. And first item is to adopt the agenda.
Oh, no, that was my, damn it.
In fact, there's just one correction. Jim Hyman asked me from the Artisan Park Service area to correct item number 17. It's not a capital contingency expense, it's a capital reserve expenditure.
Okay.
17.
All right. So I have a motion from Debbie to adopt the agenda. A second, please. And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And now need a motion to approve the minutes from previous meeting.
So moved.
A second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. All right, let's start off with committee reports with ARC.
Good evening. Michael Valaket, chairman of the ARC committee, for the record. Just wanted to update you. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Susanna for moving up to service area, and Tony for moving up to Covenants. And we look forward to your replacement whenever he or she comes. This month, October meeting, we had 85 applications. 82 were approved, 3 were declined, which is pretty good. Primarily it was roofs, painting, landscape, and security devices. We also, as you know, this was the first meeting that was attended by our newest member, Nathaniel Rosnick. Fine young man. Enjoy having him there. Very intelligent. He really knows what he's doing. Tonight on your agenda on tab 9, you'll see a request to modify the landscape plant guides. We've been working on landscaping, and we've had a lot of feedback from residents over the years that want to put more tropical plants on their property. If this gets approved, it'll be added to the plant guide, but rest assured we'll be restricting, with Albert's suggestions, the quantity of these plants. And then, of course, if any residents ever have any questions regarding the application process or need assistance in filling out their forms, please come to Town Hall and work with the community standards people here at Town Hall. And that's all I have for you tonight. Unless you want to talk for another half an hour, I can. Any questions for the ARC committee tonight?
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Take care.
All right, then we'll go to special events.
How much sunshine?
I'll start off with last Saturday. We had our Fall Fest at Lakeside Park. We actually saw nearly 4,000 people come through that day, which was the largest in terms of attendees and offering that we've ever had over there. We're currently in our final days to purchase tickets for the Founders Day barbecue. Last day will be November 3rd. Just a reminder, all attendees to the barbecue must have a ticket to attend, and no tickets will be sold that day, so you have till into business next Friday. And speaking of Founders Day, we had a slight change to our musical entertainment for the concert on November 10th, but we are now pleased to welcome the group Turnstiles to headline our show. Turnstiles is a Billy Joel tribute band, recognizes the top Billy Joel tribute band in the nation. Doors will open at 5 o'clock, even though it's outside. We'll have about a half dozen food vendors. Sea Dog Brewing will be there on the Great Lawn, and concert will begin about 7:30.
Is the concert on the Great Lawn, or is it down?
Concert's on the Great Lawn. We're using the stage over at Lakeside. November 11th, things kick off at 10 a.m. with the Veterans Day Parade, which will go from Lakeside to Founders Park, and then that'll be followed by the Veterans Ceremony at 11. And then we'll move things back to Lakeside at noon, where we'll have some games and activities from noon to 3, town photo at 12:30, and then the picnic from 1 to 3. Also in November, we have another movie night coming up on the 18th. We'll be presenting Beauty and the Beast at 6 o'clock on the Great Lawn. And just coming up in December, Holiday Fest is December 2nd. The event's going to be split into 2 parts. The first will be here at Town Hall from 11 to 3, where we'll have some cookie decorating, pictures with Santa. We also have the largest snow tubing slide in Florida that we're going to have here. And then at 6 o'clock, we'll go back over to the Great Lawn, and we're going to be showing the Polar Express that night. And then on December 13th, we have another movie night, which we're combining with our Wind Down Wednesday event. We're going to be showing La La Land.
I just wanted to say that I went to Founders Day this year, and it was possibly one of the best events that we whatever the heck it was. I can't even remember. It was so much fun, but the amount of activity and the buzz that was there was felt like that there were a lot of people there. However, I would say that when I first walked up, I was a little intimidated, and I was like, oh God, this is going to take me 45 minutes just to get into the gate. It took me less than a minute. I had my ID, they had someone out there, gave me wristband, we moved on. So kudos to having the right staff and the right positions out there. I think that really made a huge difference. And I, you know, it was just all in all a great event. And I was nervous with the amount of people there, but it was clear that everyone was able to handle it. So thank you guys.
Jared, just with the very first year that we are ticketing the lunch, and it's been free for 20 years, I just think we're going to have a few people, a few extra guests. Is there any way to do 25 or 50 extra meals? If it doesn't work, we can feed you guys for the week. I just feel that there's going to,
that's the decision of the board, because basically the count we're giving is what we've got with the ticket sales, but if the board wants
is everyone in the audience that's going to Founders got their tickets? They're a good group. I just think someone can have an extra guest. Is there a way to do just a small amount? Or you guys just think everybody?
Doesn't the caterer normally give at least a 10%?
They usually do, but I don't know.
Well, see, last
usually,
year,
I mean, it's somewhere 8 to 10%. But
yeah.
I mean, do we have? I mean, how many are we? So, how many tickets have we sold so far?
363 as of today.
So, can we look at 21 tickets, which is 8% roughly?
Well, it looks like if it's 8%, the caterer's already going to allow for that anyway.
How many did we have last year?
We a little over 1,800.
But you have to go to 2 years before that. You had how much per year?
2 years before that, we had a little under 750.
Yeah, I just think
that would be 750 would be closer to regular number. Last year was the 20th anniversary. Yeah. There's a big buzz on it. Pay for some overage and have.
I mean, let's just put it out in the Friday Flash again, make sure everybody's aware, but I'd like to have some wiggle room.
Although there are...
I'm sorry,
when do you give them the final number?
Next Friday.
And there will be other pay-as-you-go vendors on site for food, correct?
Not for the picnic. On Friday evening there will be, but not for Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay.
What if we were to budget in overage and essentially just, I guess essentially we prepay for tickets with the idea that we would do it, what are the logistics of how we would do that on site? I mean, I assume that there would need to be someone that, I mean, can we even do that? Are we set up to even do something like that? Or
to sell tickets? Or I mean, we'll have people there collecting tickets.
Right, but I'm saying, like, as Debbie mentioned, if we have, you know, if I show up and I don't have a ticket and I say I have, you know, my money here, I want to give it to you, right. We then have to have someone to take the money. So that's the only thing that I don't know. Do we have the staff to do that, or how would that work?
I mean, we did that for Fall Festival, so we could have the same people that are collecting the tickets have a bank there as well.
But you also have to have the food there,
which is low.
Right.
We're just so low.
100 extra.
What's our 5-year average without?
I have no idea. I mean, before I know that.
I would just take a look at it. It just seems really, really low.
You have to take last year.
I mean, I haven't been every year, but I've been most of them, and that just seems really low. I mean, and if we have a certain amount of tickets and we run out, we run out. But if we had absolutely nothing, I just feel like.
JR, how much do they charge per head?
I mean, I know we're just charging $5 and it costs $20, right?
$15.97 a head.
So we're picking up $16 a person.
Yeah, so we're charging $5, it costs $16. Do you want to charge a higher price there? $10?
No,
we're charging $5 to everybody right now. So.
Well, they're late. You know?
I mean, on site.
See,
on
I
site,
understand.
Higher price.
We're charging $5 for a $16 meal. It's a pretty good deal.
No, but I mean, like,
Well, can I make a recommendation? I think that through Founders Day and the unfortunate series of events with our band, our concert, we actually have some savings that we've realized. So we can utilize some of that savings that we were going to originally spend and just go ahead and purchase some extra meals and then sell the $5 tickets that they have. It's already budgeted. It wouldn't put you above your Founders Day budget.
I think 10 or 15%.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, but see now, anyone listening right now will say, "Oh, I can just wait till that day and buy them. I don't have to plan ahead."
Well, it'd be very
Wait. Let me continue, please, Debbie.
Okay, I said at the door, do $10.
Okay, never mind. I'm done.
No, wait, I want to hear what you're saying, Leonard. Go ahead.
Well, it comes down to now if we go and say, well, just show up and pay that day. Do you know how many possibilities there could be that day? We still won't have enough. There's no way to plan for enough. You either plan for it to be done in advance just have a certain or not. number. I would say just have a certain number, say it's 50 or 100, and then once those tickets are used, then somebody could be on standby. So you could say, listen, we don't have any tickets left. The last 10 minutes, if there's still, then you can get it then, something like that. But yeah, there's got to be a limit. I mean, it's if they come late,
you have to think about waste.
They have to wait.
Yeah, but I would do $10. I mean, it's always higher when you go to a play and you're paying at that day. I would do $10. If they're late, they're late. They'd at least have an opportunity to buy it.
That would encourage people to buy their tickets early.
Yeah, I mean, if you're right. If it's $5 at the door, what's the point? See if you go or not. But if it's $10,
is there an interest in creating a door price?
I would do $10.
The door price, $10.
$10 at the door.
I would order 100 more than are pre-registered, and then sell those 100 at the door for $10.
Second.
That's it.
Third.
I mean, that's to me.
All right. So the motion is to.
All of those will get sold.
They will.
Unless it's pouring down rain.
All right. So the motion is to create an extra 100 meals.
I would order 100 more than whatever your count is on November 3rd.
Based on $10.
And then charge $10 at the door.
How are you going to communicate that?
We don't communicate.
You have a table with a little sign.
The advertising is now.
People just walk up.
It'll be people who show up.
People walk up, they're going to think it's free. They're not going to, they don't even know.
It's advertised now, and it's been advertised for 2 months.
I think people are going to be upset when they get there and they find out it's $10. I don't think they're going to be very happy with that. And so just to help, I mean, we can say tickets are on sale prior to. If you don't buy your tickets, there will only be a limited amount, and they'll be $10. And then when they're out, they're out. I mean, we can only plan for so much.
That is what it is. All the boys and girls.
All right.
I guess we could communicate that through the Friday Flash.
Absolutely.
Well, it's November 3rd is our last date to do this. I would probably try and communicate at least twice before.
You have 2 more Friday flashes.
No.
This week and next week.
This Friday and next Friday.
Okay.
Next Friday would be, today is the last day.
The last ditch effort, but I mean, I would be really upset if I had to walk up there and I paid $10 for a ticket I couldn't walk for $5.
But what if you walk up and you can't
You've been notified.
You've been notified for 2.5
minutes.
Well, I mean,
what if you walk up and you can't eat?
we don't
But you walk up and you can't eat at all.
It's already been second. So it's
All right. So the motion on the table then for 100
meals. 100 extra meals.
At $10.
And we've got cost savings in the budget.
And are we under the cost savings based on that?
I think the savings is $1,600.
If we have to eat if nobody buys those tickets,
we'll be eating this for one time.
We'll be eating all day long.
Jack will be buying.
Okay.
We'll invite all you.
All right. So that's motion on the table. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. So, Jared, do you have anything more to add? All right, so let's move on to covenants then.
Thank you, JR. Lots of good things happening.
Welcome to the party.
Hello and welcome.
Welcome, Tony.
Welcome, thank you. Thank you. Michael already said it for me, but my name is Tony Camphor, and I'm the new Community Standards Manager here in Celebration, and I will be doing the Covenants Committee update. In the month of September, about 207 inspections and re-inspections were conducted of single-family and service area homes. 32 resale and follow-up inspections were conducted. 117 completed ARC projects were reviewed. 18 emails were sent for minor items and 20 letters were sent for major items. These inspection numbers are very low in comparison to the past few months. The reason being is out of respect for owners in Celebration trying to prepare and then recover from Hurricane Irma, inspections were suspended from September 5th until October 2nd. Also due to the hurricane, the Covenants hearing for September was canceled, and all agenda items were moved to October's hearing. The Covenants Committee, just like the ARC Committee, just welcomed their newest member, Michael Smith, and he already attended his first hearing this month. The committee and I are very excited to have him on board as well. The topics chosen by the Covenants Committee for this month are exterior painting and dormer windows. With the rainy season for Florida coming to an end and summer being over, it can be a good time to start looking into painting your home. Currently, we have paint color palettes available for each of the following architectures: Classical, Coastal, Colonial Revival, French, Mediterranean, Victorian. Yep, that's all of them. And you can review paint samples in the books at Town Hall and even pay a $100 deposit to take the books home. Owners can always submit for colors that are not on the pre-approved color palette, but they may be asked to paint a large sample on their home for ARC review and attend the monthly meeting. One area owners sometimes don't think about is that small window at the top of the house known as the attic or dormer window that some homes have. Not all of them have it. The design guidelines require that windows in unfinished attic spaces must either have living space quality window treatments, such as plantation shutters or blinds, or have the glass blacked out so the interior structure is not visible. This can be problematic for owners because some can't actually access it from the inside, only from the outside. Some methods owners have used to accomplish this maintenance item so far has been painting, tinting, and most recently, and ARC's most favorite, is a screen that gets placed over the window from the outside. The inspector continues to drive through the community, conducting routine inspections every 6 weeks, and has reference materials in a nub with her to assist residents. The Community Standards team here at Town Hall is ready to work with you, so if you should get a letter, we encourage you to contact us. We can assist you with timelines, applications, and maintenance plans. Thank you to everyone for all of your hard work in keeping Celebration looking beautiful. That's it.
Thanks,
Any
Tony.
questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
I have just a question. I appreciated the extension of time or whatever
For the
after the hurricane. So there are plenty of homes with a few shingles. So how missing or fences that are damaged? What's the process going forward?
So currently we're working with a 6 months timetable from the day of the hurricane. After that, we're going to start reaching out to owners and ask them to address the items.
Okay. So is that something that one of the articles that goes into the Celebration News could address?
Absolutely.
December or January
or a Friday flash maybe,
or
something
Friday
like that.
Flash or both. Just so we don't have forever to repair
Right.
that, but it's not like it's going to be looked at November 1st.
Right, and we know a lot of contractors actually are really backed up because we're getting so many applications through ARC, but all those contractors are backed up 2 or 3 months at this time, so we understand.
And now we're in the dry season, which is a good time to
Right.
do it.
Well, if you can get a contractor right now.
Or we're supposed to be.
If you can get a contractor right now.
If you can get a contractor.
And David, the way I understand it is during that 6-month period also, say 3 months, 4 months from now, I finally get a contractor signed.
Right.
You guys already have it at ARC.
Right,
You're
so we know.
You're not going to now send me a letter saying your roof's bad because you know I'm getting ready to fix it because you've got a
Right.
signed ARC permit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it stretches it further than that even because of the length of time that things will have to be done to get fixed.
Thank you.
Thank
I hear
Thanks,
Drake's
Connie.
looking for roof work.
Drake's looking for a roof.
They're available, huh?
Yeah, they're available.
All right, recreation.
The important item to note for Recreation is at their next meeting in November, they'll be reviewing dance and swim proposals for dance and swim programs. And then in December, we'll be looking at health and wellness programming, and we have a proposal for adult sports programming. So we'll have those coming in November and December. Amber and JR will be putting together some communications to the residents to reach out to folks that may have a nature outdoors background, so we can look at starting some bird watching classes, some night hikes, those types of things. So we'll look at that within the November-December meeting time frame also. And that is the update for Recreation Committee.
All right, thank you very much. All right, financial report.
Okay, I'll make it nice and short. As of September 30th, we had $1.6 million in operating cash and $5.1 million in reserve fund cash. Our capital improvement income year to date is $775,000. So we're doing really well. We're over budget year-to-date by $50,217. Were there questions regarding the financials?
Yes, I have one. Under recreation and facility, we have a variance for the net programming for $114,000.
Right. I believe that's because we've separated the revenue for recreational facilities. It's shown up in the revenue section now versus the expenses are shown in the expense section. I think you'll be able to see it differently moving forward in the 2017-18 budget.
So the recreation events income you show as a, okay, I got it. You show as a negative.
Yeah, I hope it'll change next year. Because it's pretty meaningless. It's hard to tell if we're on budget or below budget.
Well, I think it's because it's separated out into all the different events, and we don't have an individual budget per se that's loaded for each individual event. It's loaded as one lump sum in GenArc. So I think that's what is showing those variances. But I think the key here is to take the expenses and subtract the income, and that's where you are year to date for.
Part of the problem, it's hard to do that because you don't total down the expenses, so you have to actually add up each individual line item.
So you're actually 15 grand, right? You're 15 grand.
Right. I'm not sure what the number is, but I will tell you that in your financial statement, and it's going to be after the reserve statement, you have a breakdown of every single category. So it says, for instance, breakout income was $54,777. Breakout expense was $50,524. So you'll be able to keep flipping your pages, Debbie, and you'll be able to see that breakdown by event. You know, it's got the porch and yard sale, it's got the Easter egg, every event that we have is listed in there.
Yeah, I just don't know why you guys show.
Yeah, hopefully we get that changed next year. I mean, there's no reason why it shouldn't be on our regular financial.
And the way that it's shown now is from different boards in the past asking to be broken out, because it was all originally in just net programs and events, just all under expenses, and then it was switched to breakout. So we'll continue to fine tune it as you all would like to see it. But I think that Susan, as she points out, that report that's in here does give a little bit clearer understanding of what each one of the events are showing.
Was that porch and yard sale, or the fall festival, was that actually all that came in? Because they had a...
That revenue hasn't been, all the ticket sales hasn't been recognized yet. It just came in this month.
Good. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Well, everything to add?
No, just said, it looks like for the year that we are going to be pretty much right on budget. I think we're about $100,000 that we've been hit with bad debt expense and special assessments, but that's been offset. The big positive has been in our landscape, it's just because stuff isn't getting done. But so the net, I think we're going to be on budget for the year.
Yeah, we'd much prefer to pay and have it done properly. What we're looking for.
All right, then the management report, Steve.
I'll go quickly. Just my typical updates. Comcast, the only additional construction that we should be seeing in town is at Celebration Avenue near 417. Any other work that's going on in town is just pulling the fiber lines through the pipe. And the pipe was part of the construction, so all the pipe is in the ground throughout the entire community. There'll be some splicing, and the splicing is what connects to the boxes, so they'll have some additional splicing. They're looking to have North Village ready for sales November 10th as a start date for North Village, and then every other village starts dropping in shortly after that. Last week, Jennifer Cutcham, who's our customer account representative, was here on site, and it was advertised through our Friday flashes. We had one resident come and ask questions, and they were here for about 20 minutes asking questions. So Comcast is winding down. They're finishing up their projects. Key to them winding down is the restoration efforts for the homeowners' yards. And I've seen quite a flurry of communication over the past few days of homes being addressed. There's still a list, a complete spreadsheet listing of houses that need to be addressed, and they're just getting the sod in and doing the restoration as they move along. So.
Eric, did yours ever get fixed, and did that other person ever get paid? It's been like 3 months.
Mine never got fixed. I fixed it myself.
Can we follow up on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I was going to make the comment. I think I purposely was covert when I had my own issues with Comcast. And I did not use my board email address. It actually got sent from my wife's, which is pretty funny because her name is Erica, so it's pretty close to Eric Opegard, and Opegard's kind of unique. But I didn't hear back for months, so I just kind of confirmed myself what all the residents have told me. Lo and behold, when I emailed from my board email address, I got a response that day. It still hasn't been fixed, but I think the concern that I have is that, to me, I get that they have an agreement with the CDD, that they're the ones that are putting the lines in, whether we have an agreement with Comcast or not. The catch is, in this case, is that we have an agreement with Comcast as the homeowners association. Right now, I'm not happy that that agreement is being satisfied the way that it's been done, the way that our residents have been treated, and the time that it's taken to get this installation completed. So I guess my frustration has been there's a lot of this going on with, if we email Comcast, Comcast just directs the homeowner to the vendor. It shouldn't be my responsibility as the homeowner to fight with the vendor. Comcast hired them, so Comcast needs to make it right. If they're not willing to do that, and they say, look, this stuff happens and this is the way that it is, okay, but then I think that we as a board need to then go back and look at the existing agreement that we have for marketing support for Comcast. Because right now, I don't want to help support the company. And so
we're not doing any marketing for them, but the agreement gives them exclusive marketing for video services. So we're not providing free marketing services for them. We are supposed to be receiving the free Wi-Fi hotspots throughout the community, the courtesy internet, and the courtesy video services at 3 of our locations. But the agreement that we have with them allows us to ensure that they restore the property back to existing condition, and that's what we continue to do. We continue, on the weekly meetings, we continue to say these properties need restoration. It seems to be typical with these big companies that we're working with is that nobody does anything with a sense of urgency. It's constant hounding of you've got to get this done. And my last email was again very clear. How long does it take to get sought? Why can't we get this done? And I'm pushed up the ladder to the next vice president. So you have myself, you have Cliff Akey from the development district that's part of these meetings, and what I can tell everybody is that we're not ignoring it. We continue to tell them restoration needs to be completed.
Yeah, and I don't think, I know management has chased it because I see it. But I think my thing is that it gets to a point where we need to sit down and have a face-to-face with Comcast and just say, what the heck?
And not just as company rep, we need to get some higher ups.
Not their attorney.
Do we have a timeline for the installation or activation of any of those services that they said that they were going to provide to us?
They're currently identifying the locations for the Wi-Fi hotspots so that they can do drops to those locations. Some of them are going to require power to be installed. Some of them require some poles that we need to put out there. I think there's some ARC review over the actual Wi-Fi and where it can be located. So I don't have an exact timeline for that, but we do have video services that have been installed at Spring Lake, and we do have internet services at the dog park, and I think North Village has internet services also. So we do have some of them coming on as they get those areas completed.
Okay, perfect.
They are completed at the dog park?
Yes, that is at the dog park. We have to get the right hardware to ensure that the type of service that we're getting from Comcast will work. So we'll have shortly an agenda item to the board for some hardware replacements. But we'll show you the cost savings of not having to pay for internet service, and you recoup time for buying the new hardware to make it work.
Okay.
Any other Comcast questions? Next item is for the athletic fields. Permitting for TCC will begin next week. The construction documents will all be completed and they'll be submitted to TCC for permitting. And then the timeline is to have the RFP out on the street in January with the selection by the end of February. We met this week to go over the final designs, and everything is moving along for those to be submitted. So are there any questions on
final design for
the athletic fields and the civic corridor, the road and the athletic fields?
That include some of the other amenities there, like the concession stand?
That's the building, the concession stand.
That's everything?
Yes. Everything's been
Have we decided whether there's going to be 3 regular fields or 2 fields and 1 synthetic?
The direction to them is to do the 1 synthetic and 2 natural turf fields.
Oh,
and there was consensus from this board.
We did decide that?
Yeah,
no workshop, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you also, as part of that, or maybe next board meeting or the one after that, an overall timeline? Because there's some other things in the board's book that are part of things falling into place. Right. Just a master timeline proposed.
Yeah, and we can definitely give a tentative timeline. We'll know more once a contractor is selected to start the construction. Then we'll have a better idea.
Just tentative.
Yeah. But they have given us a timeline of anywhere between 9 and 12 months for construction. So if a contractor is selected in March or in February, they break ground in March or April, you're looking at anywhere between 9 and 12 months for completion of that project.
And the appraisal for the property?
It's supposed to be back by the end of this week.
End of this week?
End of this week was the time frame that they gave.
Okay.
And all the easement documents are completed and should be going out. And that's everything that I have. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Susan? No, we have a busy night tonight, so that's the end of our management report.
You had one other thing. Just all I'd ask for is a timeline on the K-8 school facility usage agreement. Is that part of the recreation committee? And then when does it come to us? And then comparisons with the past.
Well, the feedback from the committee has been used to submit to the school to ask them for our wants and our needs, and they've given us back a draft contract. I've redlined it, and I've asked Jack and Leonard, who were part of the committee talking with the school, and Vanessa to give their comments also, to do back to them Friday. So to get it back to the school by Friday. The school would like to have it approved in December because it was a month-to-month contract through December. So we would, if we can get it the way it needs to look by December, then that will be the time that they vote for it.
Will you be able to provide some comparisons with what's in the usage agreement from the past, or the current one and then the proposed one?
Yes.
That'll be helpful. Good.
All right, so Steve, we're all done with the management report?
Yeah, and Davey's here, so I'm not sure if you have any questions for Davey while they're here.
Any questions for Davey? Scott, thank you for coming.
Thank you. I guess I do have a question. So we have trees down in our, and I'm sorry, Scott, I don't even know if this is for you.
No, that's okay.
We have trees down in some of our parks and playgrounds that are not CDD property or anyone's. They're very clearly CROA property. How do we get that replaced? Do we have to go out for bid for tree replacement, or are we waiting for insurance, or kind of how does this work?
Well, we have identified, I believe, the number of trees that need to be replaced all throughout, and then I think we'll have to get some quotes on what it's going to cost. I mean, we have some general ideas, I believe, of what they're going to cost, and I think we're looking at about roughly $80,000 in tree replacement. But I think for replacing trees, we're waiting a couple months while everybody's out trying to get trees right now. We're looking at trees, so we're going to see some prices coming down over the next couple months.
Okay.
Nursery stock is a lot.
Sure. Okay. All right. That's all.
All right. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
All right. So then let's move on to the action items then. Tab number 1 is discuss the CCMC management contract extension. You want to start off?
Let's start with Tom.
All right. Let's start with him then.
You're at the end.
I don't really have anything to say. I'm just, as far as I'm concerned, it's as good a contract as anything you'll see on the street. The timeline is right.
I think we should run that contract for a minimum of 5 years. And the pricing is right, and so I'm ready to take it forward to the vote.
All right, David?
It seems to me that the question tonight, not to totally disagree with you, but to me the question tonight is whether it's ready from the work that we've done over the last 9 or 10 months, whether it's ready to move forward for formal, final public discussion and then board voting. And if it is ready, then what's that time period? So to me, that's the question. I was doing some reflection about the time spent, just real briefly, and in contrast to what was presented in owner comments, in fact, it's been a very transparent process. You know, I know that I was part of the, was it CAI conference? Most of us were there in March. It was part of our annual strategic planning process, April 4th. We had suggestions for the CROA management review process. We discussed the management contract, and virtually all of these were open meetings. May 2nd, we talked about goals and assessment of other companies. 2 community surveys, not specifically about this, but with open comments in May and August. And I think there was 1 comment out of probably 1,000 that addressed this specifically. I have 3 dates that I was part of CROA board listening sessions advertised widely to the community, June 2nd, 5, and 12. Meet and greet events, board workshop, where we talked about pluses and minuses for various options, self-management, RFP, and continue with CCMC. We had a board resolution asking for job justifications, and that's half of what I've done. I'm not going to continue that in deference to time, but I think we've had a very open, transparent process, and I think it's ready to move forward for formal community discussion and a board vote.
Debbie?
I think the process was better. I don't think it was definitely not perfect, but I think it was better. We did vote at a meeting many months ago to have a consultant come in to do a review of the organizational structure, and I would like to move forward with that and make sure that that's written in the contract and that we decide on an amount that we're doing for that before we finalize. And I think that's the one thing missing, Jack, that I've brought up over and over and over. The other thing I think that's missing, and I don't know if I'm smart enough to structure it, but there's no incentives for any cost savings, and I'd like to see something in there, and that's the one thing I feel that's the second thing I feel that's missing. Also, I would want to have at least 1 open meeting, if not an open meeting and then some separate sessions where we could break out and 3 of us could come or 4 could come. Well, 3, it'd have to be 3, we can't have more than 3 together. 3 people could take turns being here to answer some questions or to get feedback, because I feel it's not an easy process just to come up here and speak. It's easier if there's a dialogue and they can say what their concerns are and go through it, because the contract's changed quite a bit. I mean, these guys put a lot of work into it. It has got a lot of positive changes, I think, but I still think that there's, until it's put out there for residents to see, we're not going to know what the objections are, what the concerns are. We've talked about how much time. I think, Jack, you said how many days did you want to?
I would like to offer it tomorrow.
Offer it for how many days for review?
Till November 8th.
Okay. And again, the November 8th, I don't even know how this November 8th came up. It was a budget meeting and a budget meeting, but suddenly it's a contract review meeting and we're going to, appears to be voting on it. I don't feel that's enough time. You've got Halloween, you've got things going on, people are busy. I would like to see a 30-day review. I don't think I'm going to win that on this board, but I'd like to suggest a 30-day review. It's a major contract. This is our management company. I think 30 days would be enough time for people to take a look at it, at least 20. I really have a problem with 20. And I think 5 years is a long time. If we do 5 years, that means there really hasn't been an objective look at this with other bids in at least, since 15 years. So I would be more comfortable with a 3-year, but again, I know I'm in the minority on that, but those are my My issues is I need the residents to have time to look at it. That's all. I have no specific complaints about anything in there. I just think we need to add something for for something for cost savings and the management consultant.
All right, Paul.
Well, to be honest, I think there is a very serious trust issue in this community as it goes with the contract and our dealings with CCMC. And I think we've tried to do a lot of things to try and deal with that trust issue. But at the end of the day, in terms of what we've been offered, we have nothing to compare that against. We have nothing to know about what other services other companies can provide. The trust issue goes back to, and Mike made point of this, 5 years ago, we as a community were told by the board that we had the best deal going out there. And what we have found out in our due diligence is that, matter of fact, is we had about the worst. Now, that takes a lot of time to get over that, and you don't get over that by, really, the way you deal that, the way you get the community trust back is by doing an RFP. We're not doing that. So we're still picking a number out of the air. We don't know if it's a good rate or not. We don't know what services other companies can provide. So I don't blame the community for having real concerns about how we've dealt with this contract. The other day, I lost that vote. We're moving forward, but we have not done an RFP for 10 years, and I absolutely do not support going another 5 years without doing an RFP. That is just not fair, and I think what I would like to see is this be 3 years, and then a new board, people can run on that. People can run on saying, listen, we need to have an RFP in this community, and an RFP will get done or not get done. And people can say we don't want it, but you could run on that. But to go 15 years without doing an RFP, again, I think we're going to live with another 5 years of a real lack of trust in the community for what is basically our fiscal responsibility, our duty to the residents. So that's my feelings. Otherwise, in terms of things, again, without an RFP, I think we've got, we don't have the worst contract. We don't have the worst that we had before. I think, my impression is sort of in between. It's not great, but it's okay in terms of pricing. So we've made improvement, but there's still good reason for people in the community to not trust this process.
Jeff, can I back? I'm sorry, I know I'm out of order, but I just wanted to back up. I'm sorry, I forgot one thing. One of the things that was very confusing or upsetting to me was that we required Artisan Park to do an RFP, and we did not. And I just feel like that doesn't make a lot of sense. We required as a board for them to do an RFP, and they did the RFP, and then as a board we did not.
All right, let me answer that first off.
Okay.
The reason they were asked to do an RFP is because they have never had a different management company and they wanted to switch. In our case, if you look at Florida Statute 720, we are not required to do an RFP. Okay? Now, to correct both of you, it wasn't 15 years, it was 10 years ago in 2007.
No, but if we go for 5
was the
more
last time we did an RFP.
Yeah, but if we go
That's
for 5
what I
more
said.
years, it'd be 15
If we go 5 more years, it'd be 15 years before we've done an RFP.
As I said, a homeowner association by statute 720 is not required to do an RFP. You would do an RFP if, number one, your management team had failed you, was not doing the job you expected them to do, or if the price structure was out of rig. Okay? In our case, 87% of our residents said the management is doing a fine job. Okay, we found fault in the pricing structure, which we've been offering them a 17% cut in the burden rate. So I think we solved both problems there. If we had not solved those problems, then it would be appropriate to go out to an RFP. But remember, with an RFP, it's going to cost probably about $40,000 to $50,000 for the RFP, $40,000 in transition costs, and a lot of turmoil as you try and transition people in that have never worked here before. Okay? Now, You mentioned having a 3-year contract. I told you if you look at term, section 7 of this current contract, there's a 90-day no fault out. Okay? So it'd be silly to not have a 5-year contract. You could always get out in 2 years or 1 year.
Can I respond to that? But
well, no, I'm not done yet. Okay. Now, I'm not done yet, Paul.
I just want to correct what you're saying.
Okay, go ahead, say it.
No, I'm just saying is that there's not a 90-day out to say, oh, I want to do an RFP. It's just a 90-day to sit there and say, you're gone.
Well, then you would do an RFP because you're bringing another contract in. Is that correct?
This is very different.
No. So, anyway, Steve, I'd like to ask a question. How many employees do we have full-time, part-time here?
There's 29 full-time altogether, and then 15, I believe, part-time.
Okay.
And that number, I just could swing a little bit because that number changes based on, it really goes by level of service. So based on the hours you want park monitors, we may need 4 to do that on how they can work their schedules and things like that. So one person may work 10 hours, one person may work 20 hours. So that number fluctuates a little bit. Okay. And then we have summer camp counselors also that are seasonal, part-time seasonal.
Okay. Well, my proposal would be then to offer the community the opportunity to view this contract beginning tomorrow, as early as tomorrow, posting on the web. And then 2 weeks from now, November 8th, coming back to have a special meeting to vote on it, where we'd also vote on our budget for that matter. So I'll leave it to you, Eric.
No one's going to be happy no matter what we do. That's kind of what I've decided at this point. If we were to go to an RFP, I'm sure there would be questions on whether or not we did the RFP appropriately. We heard it this morning, or this morning. It seems so long ago. We heard it earlier this evening with the roofing project. We went to an RFP, and there were questions on whether or not we did that RFP appropriately. So I think there has been a lot of opportunity for folks to make comment and to voice concern. The challenge that I have is that there's either the same comment that's being brought up by the same people, or we don't have a clear problem or direction. I'm perfectly happy with the existing management company that we have. And I hate to say it, but I think what we pay in comparison to looking at the assessments of other communities, just overall, is more than reasonable when you look at the assessments that residents pay for a contribution. So to me, I'm not comfortable to the point when you look at what we found from CAI's guidance and that sort of thing, saying if you're not that unhappy and there's not a problem, then you should try to negotiate with your current provider. And I think that's what we've done in this case. I do agree with Jack that I think that we need to put this out so that I'm sure my email's lighting up right now. But I think that if we can put it out so that people can see it, to voice feedback on it, we may come back here on November 8th, and quite honestly, we might not even vote on it then. Just because it's on the agenda doesn't necessarily mean that we take a vote on it. So I think that gives us the opportunity for, if there's additional comment, people can go through it with a fine-tooth comb, bring up different things, and I know that we're still going back to management now on different items. So to me, I'm comfortable with moving forward if we want to do a special meeting like Jack mentioned, as long as we allow that opportunity for the contract to be posted in advance for folks to be able to see.
Better?
Oh, actually, I was going to ask Eric one more question. Oh. Because I read his post because he posts sometimes on the CAI web pages, and through your questions out there, do you think our percentage burn rate is within the industry standards for this size community, et cetera, et cetera?
I think it is. We got some responses back. Most of them were
kind of in line in that 30% range. There were a couple that some folks said that were lower. There was a few that were outliers, 2 that were a lot higher. Were we on the higher end of that burden rate? Absolutely. In my opinion, we're also on the higher end of a lot of these other communities that were responding to me. No offense to them, but when I went back and looked at some of the folks that were responding, it's just a different community makeup. It's a different level of service that you're providing. I go back to my electrician. I hired the electrician because he wasn't the cheapest guy. He was supposed to do a good job of what he did. He didn't, and he made it right. I don't want us to get, when we compare things, I want to make sure that we are looking at what we always come back to is that first-class standard, and there's always going to be areas to improve there. And I want to make sure that we have the backing of an organization that can do that. And right now, I'm comfortable that our management team could do that. So that's why I kind of follow the advice of CII and continue to move forward with that. That was my answer to your question.
No, that's what
okay. All right.
So because I'm getting ready to dovetail on that. I'm not one that goes out and posts a lot of boards, but I do go out and look at a lot of numbers, and I've made a few phone calls for various boards around the country. And when they did the rebid, they were right in that center spot where I thought they should be. I was like, should I try and get 1% more out of them or not? But they were right in that center spot, so I didn't have a problem with that. And that goes with that part of the numbers. As far as an RFP goes, suppose we mention RFP, and so one thing it does is it gives away the 2018 savings that we've locked in by doing the contract that's going to go into effect January 1st with these labor rate savings. And these labor rate savings are going to save us in excess of $100,000. So if you take that plus the cost of doing an RFP, maybe another 20, you're at $120,000, which would amount to about $28 per household in here of spent money that many of the board up here agreed with. Even if we go to an RFP, we'll probably be back with these guys anyway. So as I look at that, it's like, why waste the $28 per household? Why waste the $120,000 plus in doing it that way when you can go and you can find enough of the numbers around to see that we're in that center portion of it. When I first started that, I looked at the numbers we had, and we were paying too much. We were just paying too much. We have resolved that situation with the rebid. Excuse me. And we were back down into the best number. No, there might have been better numbers we could get, but for the overall deal, we're about the best place we can be in the contract right now. And I'm all for putting it up for vote on November 8th, which is our next meeting. We can't go forward anywhere with our budget without having this new contract in place. Otherwise, we have to use the old burden rates on our contract. If we use the old burden rates on our contract, then the letter we're getting ready to send out tomorrow needs to be withheld. And that just cascades problem upon problem. Numbers, performance. I'm like Jack. We haven't seen any major performance. The survey that David did showed an 87% approval rate. Is that correct? Satisfaction rate.
With living in celebration.
Not the contract.
That's a little different.
Living in celebration.
Okay.
But
the management company was mentioned at all in that survey?
Once.
One time?
Not as a question, but through open-ended comments.
One comment.
One comment. And then the second survey had an open comment for any observations or recommendations, and I don't think it came forward at all.
And That's basically where I am right now. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'd like to make a motion then.
When was that November 8th meeting scheduled?
Yeah, it's new to me.
I sent it out in an email saying that that's what I'd like to do is 2 weeks from this date.
So you guys pretty much decided you were going to do this and ram the contract through before?
No, I sent you an email.
No, you said we're going to schedule a meeting. No one asked. I mean, no one said, are you around? Are you in town?
Well, my question too is that good enough time? I mean, so we're sending out. We're sending out a letter. We're sending out a letter notifying people that they can see the contract when tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
So it won't get them to them until
the contract will be posted first thing tomorrow morning.
I know that, but people aren't going to. They're going to know to look for it when they get this letter.
It's first class, so it'll go out immediately. They should have it by Saturday, I believe.
Go out tomorrow.
Saturday.
Card's being printed.
So that'll give them
So how
maybe
many
a week.
business days is that between now and the meeting? How many business days?
Again, it should go out by Saturday. Is that right? Or
It actually is going out tomorrow.
tomorrow? Okay.
Yeah, it's being printed tonight, it goes out tomorrow. Deliveries will start probably getting in on Saturday.
I hear two different things being talked about. You talk about the
postcard.
So that's 7 days they have to look at.
Not on the
7
contract.
business days.
The postcard points to the website where the contract will live and where the budget will live.
The postcard is advertising budget and discussion about the contract.
Correct.
Could also an email go out tomorrow?
Absolutely.
In addition to a Friday flash that says that this is going to happen, so there's notification on Thursday, hard mail on Saturday or Monday?
So that's 10 business days.
No, but it goes out tomorrow, so it becomes 2 full weeks. And in fact, we have had 6 months, 8 months of open discussion, so this is now just reading 30-some pages.
That's it?
I mean, that's what this is, looking at what we've talked about.
We haven't had open discussion once the contract has been, this contract has been put together, and we have 10 business days for the entire community, busy people, to look at this and respond where? Come on the 8th when we're voting? And we already see how that's going. Where's the feedback? I'm sorry, I just don't feel like there's feedback. And don't give me that look. I think they need timed feedback. Does anyone else want feedback?
Look,
Can we meet?
It's not open up to the membership. It's open to the board right now. Okay, the motion's on the table to offer the contract to the community as of tomorrow, and to have a meeting on November 8th to vote on the contract. Is there a second?
Or to decide to not vote on the, Eric's.
Well, that's
on the agenda.
It's on the agenda.
It's on the agenda. To vote.
So we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, tab 1B, discussion of the Artisan Park Service Area administrative fees for 2018.
That's right.
Rand?
Rand Saylor, 1401 Celebration Avenue. I'm obviously representing the Artisan Park Committee tonight. What I just saw, I think, demonstrates just how hard it is to talk about management and management changes. It's not easy for you. It's not easy for us. It's not easy to say, have we satisfied transparency? Have we not satisfied transparency? I have no doubt everybody on this committee, even though there are some disagreements, is acting in good faith on that contract. We've been doing the same. And I just want to put the transparency boogeyman to...
Sorry.
I stand further back, sorry. I've also been told I have a harsh and aggressive speaking voice, so forgive me.
Great radio voice.
Excuse me?
Great radio voice.
Oh, great radio face. In any event, as you guys have been doing something for 9 months, so have we. In January we started, I wasn't here, but conversations started about frustrations with service and the interrelationship with CCMC. There were a lot of words tossed back and forth. What I would like to jump to is a conversation Steve Waring and I think we had in maybe early June, maybe late May, and I think we agreed, let's not talk good, let's not talk bad, let's not talk history, let's talk fit. and CCMC didn't fit for us, and we felt as a committee we needed to move on. We really feel we've done what we needed in terms of transparency. Anytime we had information, we shared it. The nature of our process has been bumpier because there have been legal and operational questions raised, which we all had to stop and get those answered before we could proceed. As you know, your board asked us to, and we went through a full RFP process and did the best we could in getting bids for a contract that is not as big as yours. We respect your right as a board to make your decisions on your contract, and I hope you'll respect that we've really tried, we've really taken our time, we've really considered the benefits of this, and you have a unanimous committee on moving forward. And with the last legal issue that was addressed, we're now at the stage where we need to start negotiating the contract, and it's in that context that I want to make this brief presentation about the administrative fee, and this will be short. At our special committee meeting last Saturday, Leonard informed us it's the current consensus of your board to keep the monthly CROA administrative fee at $816 in 2018, even if we bring in a new management company that's going to assume most of the duties. He said, and I understand why he said it, the board views the continuation of this fee for 2018 as sort of a hedge because we're entering unknown territory. We have very specific expectations, but nobody can guarantee what will happen. Leonard also said, however, and this question was raised by Jim Hyman, who's our APC chairman, even if we determine, if we stayed with the 816 and we determine that the work that CCMC is actually required to do is massively less, there's not going to be any rebate, and in effect, we would be paying the full existing CROA administrative fee, even though the vast majority of those obligations have been transferred to another company to which we also have to pay a fee. I want to make something really clear to you guys. We've tried to say this before, and I hope you understand it. We have never suggested, and we're not requesting, the CROA or other residents of Celebration bear any costs that are attributable to us. We're willing to pay the costs of doing what we want to do. We know you're uncertain about 2018, but imposing a fee that no longer bears relationship to reality isn't fair to Artisan Park residents, and just as you have a fiduciary relationship with all Celebration residents, it means you have it with Artisan Park residents. I'd like to propose a different approach, and I think it fully protects CROA's interests and by extension all the other residents in Celebration from not picking up our costs. This approach is based directly on a lot of work that Steve Waring and I have done over the past few months. You feel free to chime in if you think I'm saying something that is misrepresenting where we went, okay? As soon as it looked like there was a real possibility of us bringing in a new management company, Steve took the initiative to build a matrix which set out all the various aspects of what a management company does and how it does it. And we divvied those, we started to divvy those up between a new management company and CCMC. And the reason we had to divvy them up is because we knew that CROA has certain requirements with respect to the contract, with respect to maintenance, with respect to assessments, and so we spent that time divvying that up. The matrix evolved over time, and we discussed it thoroughly. The last version of the matrix sets forth a conclusion by Steve that not more than 10 hours per month are going to be needed. And we believe, and I'm not speaking for Steve here, we believe that a lot of the work to be done is administrative in nature, and that a $40 per hour attributable to that would be very reasonable, which obviously leads to a fee of $800. Freudian slip, $400, not $816. But I want to take you just a little deeper into the hours that we're looking at. Two categories form the bulk of those 10 hours. 6 of them are deemed necessary for assessment-related matters, meaning the pursuit of delinquencies, following up, filing liens, etc. Now, I think that this overlooks the fact that, generally speaking, residents tend to default on multiple assessments simultaneously. And what this means is that if you see a default in a CROA assessment, you're probably going to see a default in the APC assessment and vice versa. Now, as residents of Celebration, Artisan Parks residents pay the full CROA fee, and that means that we're already paying for the services that relate to pursuing delinquencies. I think that we'll find, in most cases, any additional time and money required to simultaneously pursue a related delinquent Artisan Park assessment really isn't very much. The whole process is already there and has to be followed. So that's with respect to those 6 hours. Steve's matrix also currently contemplates 2 hours of property inspection by CCMC per month. And this is in response to CROA's desire to protect its property interest in the building structures. There are 3 reasons that this really is too much. First, we will have a comprehensive and transparent inspection and maintenance program. It's actually web-based. The results, the problems and the results will be viewable on the web by us and by you at all times. In light of that, quarterly inspections by CCMC would be more than sufficient to make sure that the company, the management company, and we are taking care of your property. Secondly, whoever owns the property, we all agree that all the repair costs or replacement costs lie on us. We are strongly incented to make sure that the property is properly maintained and inspected and that we get ahead of stuff. And finally, unfortunately, I have to say this sudden desire for comprehensive oversight of maintenance is kind of surprising to us. To our knowledge, CCMC has never conducted regular inspections of the service area during the time they've been our only management agent. And now to suddenly demand this massive, close inspection of another competent company's inspection is a little too much. In light of what I've just said, and having seen me perform before, you're probably thinking I'm about to start an argument about the number of hours. But just like you guys, we're tired of arguing. We really are. We want to get this done. And that's why we're proposing that we'll accept a monthly administrative fee of $400. Just from the discussion of those 8 hours, I think there's already that hedge built in for you. But if you're not satisfied with that hedge, and we've said this before, and I'll say it explicitly now, the new management contract will explicitly provide that if those hours are, if the hours are, extra hours are seated, they'll be billed to and paid by us. That's our responsibility. If we can't get our act together and CCMC needs to come in and do extra work because of it, that's on us. This approach, I think, is fair because it meets your needs and it meets our needs. You guys, and by extension all residents of Celebration, are going to be completely protected from paying 1 penny of fees that are attributable to us. Conversely, our residents aren't going to be sitting out there paying a fee that will no longer be tied to reality of what's actually going on. And that's not fair to your residents and your, just as there are clients, they're your clients. The fact that they happen to be Artisan Park doesn't change that. And there are 2 things that somebody said earlier this year that I'd like to stress. And one of them goes to again, this boogeyman of fake extra costs. We've spent more money this year. We've drastically reduced the deficit and perhaps eliminated, we'll see by the end of the year. We've spent money to make money. We're not raising assessments. Our financials are as strong as they've ever been. So talking about, oh, it's $12,000 more and that's just going down the toilet is just not true. We've looked at the numbers over and over again. We've looked at the demands on our management and our staff and on a committee that's not qualified to keep running this place. And we've totally reached the decision that this is not only a good ambiance, food, events, communications, all that's going to be improved. But just as importantly, it's going to ultimately improve and strengthen our finances without costing our residents a penny. So I'll quote, and I can't remember who said it, but someone here said, it's not always just about the exact amount of dollars, it's about the total experience. And we're completely confident, one, we're going to deliver a massively better experience with this new approach. Two, it's not going to hurt us financially, it's actually going to help us. So I guess what I'd say, and somebody said this before about it, and we've talked about cooperation, I'd ask you to do what's in the best interests of all the residents. You're still fully protected. The only other thing I'll say is we really need, just as you guys have a timetable, and Leonard raised the situation we're all in. We've got budgets, we've got plans for next year, we all want to save money, we all want to get going. We can't do that till we get our contract together and present it to you, and you have the final say on that contract. So we're asking that the draft contract, and I believe there's one in existence, if I'm wrong, we'll figure that out, would be made available as soon as possible. We commit to work very quickly and come forward with the money, the business deal between us and Evergreen, and put that in form that Mr. Slayton can use to put in his contract. And I know that he'll also be putting forth the provisions that you guys want in the contract to protect you. But just as you guys need to get going and are feeling the time urgency to be ready for 2018, we are as well. We would greatly appreciate your cooperation. Thanks for your time.
Fran, I have a question or two for you real quick. Which draft contract do you want? The one that we're currently getting ready to put out tomorrow?
No.
Can I answer that for you? When you all met in executive session with Tom Slayton, Tom took a deliverable, and one of them, he put together a draft contract. So I can send that to Rand, that they have that to start working off of.
I wanted to confirm that before I made before I got into the next portion. Okay. You got anything else to say about that?
I know that's bare bones at this point. You guys need stuff in it, we need stuff in it, but at least we can all nail down the boilerplate. And the good news is, since Mr. Slayton drafted it, the only stuff he's going to have to review is what we put in. So we can really get going pretty quickly. And I want to make this, and as you know, and as we've agreed, from this point on, the dollar costs for Mr. Slayton on this contract are on us. And we know that. And one, we're interested in speed. We're also interested in doing it efficiently.
Okay, I want to go ahead and just start with some comments, if I may, Jack. Basically, I've already related to you once that there was a consensus that the paragraph 5.2 charge to CROA, it was listed again recently when we received it from you as a CCMC charge, but it's not. So I want to make that clear. It's section 5.2 of the Arts and Park Charter, where you find the obligation of Arts and Park to reimburse CROA for the expenses we incur down there, number one. Number two, you're giving us a number that, oh, this is what it will be. And the first time I met most of you guys that are down there, because I had never been to an Arts and Park meeting before, was on February 7th of this year. Steve happened to be the person down there presiding over your meeting. I'm not sure whether you were between cooks or exactly what had happened in there, but he was the community association manager that we had available to send down to the property that night, so he attended that meeting. After the meeting, I went up, and you were not on the dais there, and I spoke to the community members, and I spoke to 3 of them because they had referred to the $816 amount that you pay to CROA every month as being too large. And I said to 3 of them right then, I go, from what I've seen, and I will be happy to audit it, it's actually too low. It could go up somewhere between and I pulled the numbers out of my head just as a guess, somewhere between, I believe I told you guys $1,100 to $1,300 per month minimum. I might have said 13 to 15, but I think 13 was that mid-range anyway, let's say. And I told you on it. I'm sorry, I'm not pulling that number up right out of my head. I don't want to give you an incorrect one. And you talk about wanting to pay, and what I believe we had board consensus on this year was to start charging you in arrears for the work. So in other words, starting the January of 2018, if you have another management company in place, the work that is done through CROA, which CCMC is our management company that will do, will be tallied in an hourly basis, kept track of by the cost of the employee that's doing that particular spread, and ran throughout the year. So then in September, assuming we have fairly equal numbers throughout the whole year, we would give you an amount then for you guys to put in your budget for the following year. And that would continue that way. You've talked about meeting with Steve, and I know you've probably met with Steve 5 times or more, talking about how to get this through. I mean, if you read 5.2, it doesn't say we have to collect it prior. It doesn't say we have to collect the actual amount the day it's done or in arrears. If you look at 5.2, there could be an argument made, and I'm not going to make it, that all of the time spent this year so far going through a lot of these things should be charged to you, which meant your 816 for this year is much higher. You're way behind in payments on that. So I guess just to end where I am is the keeping track of the time spent down there going forward after you get a new management company in, and then charging that back to you the following year in arrears. And if it adjusts up and down throughout the next couple of years, it goes up or down that way. But it will be what it will be, and it will be paid in arrears, because that's the only way you can do this without coming through every year. Or let's say we had it this year, you charge for the exact amount. So we get to the end of this year, and your 816 wasn't enough. Maybe you had $1,200 a month that you should have paid us. Now you have to go through and figure out where do you pull that out of your budget for that. So I think it will work best for everyone's financial budget going forward, and that's my recommendation. And I believe we've all agreed that. Oh, sorry.
I'm going to make 2 comments. Tell me how my proposal endangers or risks anything for CROA, and how it does. In any way, it doesn't get you the dollars you deserve.
Well, number one, I don't have to tell you that, but if I were going to, I could actually refer back to you and tell me why we should not protect every other CROA resident and go through and figure out the number of hours we have spent on this issue this year through CCMC, through the management company's time that we've spent, and charge that to you for this year. Is there any reason we shouldn't do that, Rand?
I don't know, Leonard, because what you are doing is selectively bringing up historical issues. We have our historical issues. One of the things, I know Jack and I talked about this with Jimmy. I talked about this with Steve. I know Steve's not on the CROA board, but one of the things that I've tried to do, and if you think I haven't, Jack, please tell me, we are trying to look forward. The relationship, the fees, the history on all sides has not worked. We could go back 10 years, do an audit of every year, find out various things. That's not productive for either side. Everything I've been trying to do, and I think Steve's been an extremely honest broker in this, is to look forward. What works for everybody? What's fair for everybody? Not, oh, I'm going to think back now and I'm going to pull out a contract thing that I haven't mentioned in years. We need to start over. We want and need a positive relationship with your board. We've been as open as we can be this year. Steve's been incredibly helpful in educating me about your needs. We're trying to do the right thing here. That's what I'm proposing. I don't, if this 816 is some sort of hidden penalty for our past costs, say so. If it's not, it's inappropriate.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like, because I do have a different point of view than Leonard. I mean, because Leonard, you've really been the one on the board to really push the whole idea that, you know, we shouldn't be subsidizing any of the service areas. And I think we saw a lot of that when we started on the board, is that CROA was spending money and being charged for it, and service areas were getting the benefit of it. And I know you've led the charge to make sure that that we don't subsidize service areas, and service areas don't subsidize us. So, you know, at the end of the day, it should be what our actual costs are is what Artisan Park should pay, and that we need to figure out a formula for that to ensure that that happens. So, if over the next year it cost us say $4,000, I don't think it's appropriate to charge them $9,000. Now, if it cost us $15,000, then we need to charge $15,000. It's not appropriate to charge them $9,000. So, I think that what we have both fought for all along is that neither, one party doesn't subsidize the other. If we do approach it the way you're talking about, is that somebody is going to be subsidizing somebody else this next year. Because I think what you're saying is that, for the next year they're going to get 816 regardless of what it cost us, but then next year we'll start budgeting. Well, that means that somebody is going to be subsidizing somebody else this year. So I can understand sitting there starting with, for the first quarter, 816. Let's see what it cost after the first quarter, and then we adjust that down or up or whatever to try and make sure that we end up at the end of the year with the accurate number. But what you're talking about is not what you have been fighting for since you've been on the board.
Actually, it is, Paul. Let me show you it from a different way. Then I guess is like I said in the February 7th meeting down there. I said, and let's just say I said it. Let's say I said, I think I just said 11 to 13. So let's say I said $1,200. So that was $400 a month more they should have paid us every month this year. That's what I told them back in February. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to say them. That's what I said to the three of the members of the Artisan Park Committee at that point, that I could go through and audit those right away, but I wasn't planning on getting to it right away. But we are going to eventually get down to the true costs. So that's the year 2017 we're in right now. So let's just assume that every month this year they've underpaid us by $400. You just heard the amount of time Rand and Steve have spent together. Steve's our highest paid guy. If we go through and bill hourly, Steve is our highest paid person on the payroll. If we just took the 2017 and maybe Rand's budget for that is true and correct for 2018. If we took that and we said every month in 2017 they underpaid by $400, and then if we even said to ourselves, let's assume Rand's the soothsayer, the foreseer of what it's going to cost us next year, and he pegs it exactly at $400 per. Well, we undercharge $400 a month this year for 12 months. Next year we would overcharge for 12 months that same $400. It would become a zero net sum. And as long as we did that and set it up in arrears every year after that, it really wouldn't matter. They wouldn't be charged the proper amount. They would just be paying it 1 year later as it would fluctuate up or down.
I think the challenge is, though, is if we haven't been charging the right amount right now, it's our fault. And I don't think that is, and I'll put disclosure out there since I received an email on this. I live at 1126 Mosaic Drive, which is located in the Artisan Park service area. To my knowledge, I am still current on all my dues and payments. Okay, throw that out there. So,
concern that I have is that if we've screwed up our budgeting or our billing for 2017, we screwed it up. We kind of can't go and back charge them the next year because of it. I mean, to me, where I'm sitting with this is it's the Artisan Park Service Area's budget. If they want to, they could put $5 in for that line item every single month. But if we have the agreement that we're going to be back billing, and correct me if I'm wrong in understanding how this works, if we're going to be back billing them anyway for actual time in 2018, then we're going to be getting the right amount anyway. Isn't that the way this works?
Well, in 2018, are you saying put $1 in? Well, the way I've just described it, 2018 they would pay the 812. 2019 they would pay the actual time that they got allocated in 2018. Actual time would be collected again, up or down. It's an arrears type thing.
Let me ask one thing, Steve. I'd like to get my head around what exactly are your estimated costs for this contract for them?
Well, first, let me start by saying the Artisan Park and the supplemental documents that were written are very unique. That's a nice word. It's probably a kind way of saying it. They're very unique. You don't charge based on per hour for any of your service areas. I mean, right now it's $17 a door for every other service area, and the amount of revenue that you bring in covers the cost of the service area manager and the admin support that we're going to have working with that service area manager for 2018. So Artisan Park has historically been $816, and I don't have the exact time frame of when that changed.
2012.
So in 2012 it moved to $816
from $800.
Now, if we were going to go and we were going to keep track of all of our time and do dollar for dollar, and I think this is where a lot of the confusion comes in, because I think it's misunderstood as a CCMC fee or a fee that CCMC collects as profit, and it's not. It is money that CROA charges the service area to offset any additional support above and beyond the service level that Artisan Park Service Area Committee wants to pay out of their budget, meaning they hire their own staff. They hire their own general manager, they hire their own assistant general manager, servers, cooks, whatever they want to pay for that level of service. Anything above and beyond that, the support that Susan provides, the support that I provide, Rachel, Patrick, JR, any of the staff here at Town Hall, is that $816 is used to help offset that. So if we want to try and take a systematic approach to what makes sense, what numbers work, the best way for us to do that, because we're talking about an unknown, and it's an unknown that even our legal counsel and our auditors both agree that they just don't see a lot of it. Two different management companies managing within the same community. It's very rare. It's not happening anywhere at the level that we're talking about doing it here. We look at a matrix of what does it take to do the work. And there's a lot of times where Susan and I can be very comfortable about what we think the hours would be of support, and then there's just times where it's unknown. So we do our best guess. I think, to Leonard's point, a year later, with two management companies, the relationship will be a little bit better understood, and we'll know exactly what that time is, and we'll have very good numbers. Right now, you have the matrix in your packet. You've seen the numbers. Brandon and I have worked through it. Susan and I have worked through it. We've talked about it. We don't necessarily agree completely, but I'm going to estimate a little bit higher when I don't know, because I just don't know yet on some of these numbers. His number of 10 hours per month, if we can get the payment processing to where it needs to be for their contract, I would agree with this 10 hours per month on our best guess. That could change throughout the year. And I think that, it's the contract is written, or I'm sorry, the supplemental documents are written in the spirit of cooperation. Tom Slayton told you that over and over again. So the 816, if we're in cooperation, it's okay if we put a little bit more over 1 month, or we're a little bit under 1 month, because we're trying to cooperate to provide the level of service to Artisan Park that they're looking for. But committees change, demands change, things that they want change, and you just never know. So I think that you guys have really got a better grasp now on what you want to charge per month. And I think Artisan Park Service Area has a better understanding of the demand on additional time from Town Hall and what that means. So,
let me clarify something. You said earlier that the bill rate is $17 a door.
For all ever maintenance service areas, that
computed for artisan because
it's more like $1.
$1,000 a month.
It's not the same for artisan though, because artisan pays for their own level of service. We don't have CROA staff.
What's their doorway?
It comes out to closer to $1.32.
$1.32 a month.
Yeah.
We pay general manager and assistant manager.
They pay their own for their own level of service.
Other fixed costs in there.
Well, so Steve,
and the other service areas don't. The other service areas don't hire their own, whatever that is. So it's all done through town hall.
It is. We are. I won't say unfortunately. We're very. I guess you can't be very unique. We're unique because of the restaurant, because of the private aspect. It is a different animal, and all I can say, and again, I'll say what I've said to Steve is we're not trying to get out from underpaying and make anybody else in this town. And if we have to work through numbers further on and down the road to figure out if something's going on, that's fine. I spoke in terms of hours because the only way that I can get my head around what we'll call extra services is to attempt to quantify them in some way. And I'm not trying to box Steve in a corner. I'm not trying to get a low fee that doesn't work. And as I've said, any time those are exceeded, we will rebuild and pay for them. So I want to make it absolutely clear we intend to bear the cost of what we're doing. I just don't want to bear a false...
I just can't see how the numbers are working if we're charging them $1.32 versus $17.
Well, historically, we've never done dollar for dollar of what the service from Town Hall is to Artisan Park Service Area. It just hasn't been done that way. It hasn't been done. Susan, keep track of all the hours you've answered emails, phone calls, specifically related to Artisan Park. And we're talking about common elements at Artisan Park that are exclusive use for Artisan Park residents. We're talking about the clubhouse, the food and beverage, we're talking about the pool, and we're talking about the field. We're talking about anything that we do from Town Hall to address those issues. So, I mean, 816 probably hasn't been a fair number, but that's
completely separate.
Yeah,
that's completely the club. The service area in our, this is really important.
But isn't that a part of the $17?
No.
Well, can I just give you a little clarification? We're talking about $5,000 here. I mean, that's what we're talking about for 12 months. It's $5,000, $4,992. 414 times 12 months is $4,992. And again, historically, we have not kept time dollar for dollar. So the question on the table is, for $4,900, do we go with what we think our best estimate is moving forward, if we can get those payment processing to where it needs to be, or do you keep it going at 816 for another year and really ask us to keep track hour for hour of what it's going to take to support 2 management contracts?
I mean, I think Steve is, I feel like Steve is fair. Are you saying that what you would like to do is do like Leonard said, do the 816 this year and then see it, track it, and then next year we'll make it? You don't feel comfortable going lower than that going into this next year?
It's $5,000. I mean, CROA board can absorb the $5,000 with surplus that you have. So if it's a dollar amount, I don't think that that's the issue here. I think it's the methodology of how you determine what you're charging. So we looked at our best guess at what we can determine that is going to look like, but it's such a unique way that we're going to be running things. And I agree with Rand. If it's a better fit for Artisan and they want to pay more for that service level, I understand that. I just don't know exactly what it looks like other than our best guess. I'm estimating about 18.75 hours if we do the payment processing. Without payment processing, Rand's right, it's closer to about 10.75 hours. There's one thing, though, that I do need to point out to you is that until I get back from CCMC, and the reason why I say this is that both legal and the auditor have agreed that financial practices are going to be very key and important to combining 2 different sets of financials. So they have to really take a comprehensive look at what that's going to look like and what that's going to cost to do that. Now, in fairness to the committee, they've agreed that they'll pay for that. So I'm just waiting, and they told me November 6th is the time frame that they'll get that back. So I'm waiting to see what that looks like. I'll share it with the board, we'll share it with the committee and talk about that. But, I've recommended 8/16 because it's unknown. We just really don't know yet. I think the 10 hours in the 4/11, if we've guessed right, it would work.
Why can't we set the budget at 8/16 and then, like Leonard talks about, a rear billing on a monthly basis, not calculating 12 months, a whole 12 months, and then figuring out where we stand, do it every month.
Or you could set it at 8/16, and at the end of the year, if we only use the 10 hours per month, give them back $5,000. I mean, do you have the money? You can say, here it is back. We didn't use it. You can have it back. But we've never done a hour-for-hour counting, so I can't really give you an accurate, other than our best guesstimate of what it's going to take to...
One thing for me is Artisan Park, to me, is the best deal for CROA there is, because we don't, they pay for their own pool. They pay for their own. So in a lot of ways, I mean, Artisan Park is if you look at it, it's like I look at Celebration being a net provider for Osceola County. We provide a lot of money for Osceola County, and we don't get the service. I mean, I look at Artisan Park the same way, is that their demand on our services is less than other areas because they're paying for it separately. So I would be sympathetic to Artisan Park. I mean, if we can. I mean, it's not a lot of money. We're probably, just what we're paying Steve, we've already exceeded,
Again,
if the number's not, if the number's...
washing dishes last year. I mean, she ate up that $5,000.
If the number's not right, we pay more.
Yeah, right.
That's very easy to do contractually. And I don't know...
But you're unwilling to do it for the rest of this year.
Not the rest of the
year. We're entirely entering a new structure. We're talking about 2018 forward. If we're going to revisit the last 10 years, we're going to get back in the yelling and screaming, and you did this, and you didn't do that. We don't want to do that. I thought we were past that.
I didn't go into the past, Rand. I started from now, from now through the end of the year. How many more meetings do we have with Steve, et cetera, that's way past the dollar amount of the 816 that we've been using.
You know what, Leonard? Charging us to make a change is like the guy who killed his parents and asked the court for mercy because he's an orphan. We've got to get this done. We've been working, Steve's been working in good faith. When we get the new structure, we'll pay for it. But telling us you're going to charge us, we're going to take the legal fees, we're going to take the transition costs, we're going to do all that. If you want to revisit history, and until the end of this year is history as far as this new relationship is concerned.
Right. Steve, let me ask a question.
Let's clean this up and move on.
Yeah, exactly.
The question I have for you is, what is the average? If I use an average of $25 an hour for an employee, and I apply the burden rate of 34%, it comes to $33.50 an hour. And multiply it times 1875, which is the hours you've got. I come up with $628. Okay, I would be comfortable with doing 628.
Well, I think that once we find out about the payment processing, these numbers are going to go down.
They'll go down.
They're going to go down to closer to 10.
Is 25
Again,
hours
on
an
our
hour
best estimate
too much to? Well, okay. So I would move that we have reduced the price to $600.
Well, we're actually looking to get a consensus on this. So do we not have a consensus of 4 for 816 first?
No, I don't think we do.
No. Help me understand this again.
Wait. I've got to ask you guys this one more time, because we had this conversation at the end of our last budget meeting for the 816, and we talked about this, and at least 6 of the 7 people were like, yeah, the 816 works.
I'm not for the 400. That's what you said?
No, I'm saying keep it the same as we've had it, the 816 this year, and then go into next year and charge them in arrears for the actual number of hours spent this year. So 2019, we would be charging them for the hours we spent there for 2018. 2020, we would be charging them for the hours we spent there in 2019, et cetera, et cetera.
But Leonard, I've offered new information. No, I've offered new information.
Wait. You're actually finished speaking right now. We're actually in a board discussion, please.
And that's what I'm saying. So, Steve, what do you say? It sounds like you're thinking it may go
816
down.
is the number that I budgeted for the year because there's too many unknowns at this point in time. We did our best guesstimate of what the hours are going to look like for next year, but there's too many unknowns. We're talking about $5,000. I mean, if you wanted to, there's a couple different methodologies and arguments, so the board has to decide what they're going to do. But if you got to next year and it was consistent at $10 per month and it was only $4,992, then you could reimburse them if that's what you wanted to do. But for me to do the budget for this year, I thought it was the right thing to do to leave it at the 816 of where it's been historically until we can get a better understanding of how two management companies and two different sets of financials are going to work together.
But I think both sides need to do that. Both sides need to stay at 816.
Yes, that's what the proposal is. Keep the charge for 816 for the year of 2018.
Which can be adjusted up or down.
Or down, right, up or down.
Jack, may I just want to ask, Tim had made, I don't know if it was a suggestion or amusing, I don't want to put it in your mouth, but the idea, if we're going to be charged 816 and we true up a lot lower than that, do we get the money back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So at the end of the year, we'll look and see what it actually is.
Okay. I mean, I would prefer the other way, but that's, yeah.
We will true it up at the end of the year. Is that what the motion is?
No, I tried to address it one way, you're addressing it the other way. But if you put the rebate back in, we at the end of the year,
That gives him a year to...
and it makes sure that the dollars meet it.
But, and I just want to make sure we're clear. Any phone calls that we're working with here about the pool, the food and beverage, the field, any emails that we're answering, we're going to keep exact amount of time that we spend on exclusive common areas of Artisan Park. Not
as well as you can.
Not assessments, not those types of things, because that assessments for regular CROA through Artisan Park.
As well as you can.
Yeah, and we'll do our best to keep track of that so we can know what actual cost is at the end of the year.
Actually, the cost of taking the assessments for Artisan Park is actually 11% higher.
Because all the concerned about
that exclusive area
to get his budget number right. So
for their service area.
Yeah.
It's actually 11% higher.
And we're obviously going to do everything we can to have Evergreen perform all the functions we're paying it for, so that we don't have to call. I mean, it's our failure if we have to keep calling on CCMC, because Evergreen is going to have operational authority there.
Okay. All right. So are we in agreement then? $816 a month for the budget, with the proposal that we will rebate any overpayments
or charge
or bill back any
adjust as needed.
Anything. In other words, we're not going to collect the profit.
I'm not in agreement with that.
And we're not going to leave you with a deficit.
Okay.
Well, that's the motion.
No, it's not.
So is that the motion? I'll second.
Yeah. All right. I got a second on that. Any further discussion then? I made the motion. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. Leonard opposed. So 5-1. All right. Thank you, Grant.
So
816, and we will
with adjustment.
pay
Cut
you
your
back.
check. Or you cut us a check.
We'll look at it again at the end of the year.
Thank you.
All right. Tab number.
Jack, can I make a recommendation that all the audit be consent vote?
Yes.
Yeah, but we're not there yet. We're still on tab 2.
Oh, sorry.
Motion to approve the board resolution for monitoring systems.
Yeah, we're going to beat that to death. I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just so that everyone is very clear on what this is just a resolution for the monitoring systems itself. Right. This isn't for any other supplemental systems that have been discussed.
Okay.
And it's not a cost item.
Correct.
Okay. And it would cover any current or future.
Right.
Further discussions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab number 3, the motion to approve the contract for the turnstiles to perform Founders Day for the amount of $4,500. This is CROA operating expense.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, JR.
I'd like to carry.
Great idea. Thank you, JR.
Thank you, JR.
Thank you, JR. I'd like to combine tab number 4 and 5. And this would be a motion to approve the audits for CROA and CJC as prepared by Glickstein, Laval, and Karras.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any discussion?
Yeah, I do want to just say that I thought they did a good job, real good job. They obviously went into some detail because they, I'll just say real quickly, the issue that we have with water, they worked with Suzanne on that, and also a lot of issues with we've had a lot of issues with Davy and back payments and whether they owed or not. So they went through detail to make sure that we were, put that liability if they felt like the payment was due. So I was really impressed, especially with the direct person on the audit. So I was really impressed with them. So I think they did a good job.
Okay. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'd like to combine tabs 6 through 8. Motion to approve the engagement of Glickstein, Laval, and Karras to do the CROA, CJC, and CCS tax returns. I'm sorry, audit.
It's the engagement letter.
Yeah, the engagement letters.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab number 9. Motion to approve adding tropical plants back into the palette for areas around the home other than in the private zone as recommended by ARC.
So moved.
Okay, a second, please.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
I guess the question is for our ARC rep, not ARC, covenants. Do we have any existing covenant violations that you are aware of for homes that have, it's you, Tony, get up here, for covenants that would be impacted by this? Have we currently cited anyone for tropical plants that we're currently going through on right now?
No, so anybody that was cited has actually submitted since then and have gotten approved for limited quantities.
Gotcha, okay.
So we're clean slate.
Clean slate, okay.
All right, so further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
10, 11, and 12.
Let's combine 10, 11, 12. Motion to award landscape contracts to Yellowstone for CROA Parks and Facilities, sport fields, and the CJC Water Tower. These are all they're CROA operating expenditures or CJC operating expenditures.
You want to talk about that?
I'll make the motion.
Say all that work.
And a second.
Don't die for a second.
Well, no, we got to get it.
Second.
Now discussion.
Yeah, just real briefly, Paul and I were appointed to look at the 6 proposals that came in. We looked at them according to the 6 criteria of completeness, experience, qualifications, equipment and staff, references, and cost. Had a thorough review, good discussion privately. Then we met with management, Todd included, and some others, and talked about it. We interviewed 2 of the finalists. We talked about criteria. We talked about who would be best for the community. It's divided into 3 different settings, and we also learned through this process that it was important that the parks and the fields ideally be with one vendor, but also that all 3 not be with one vendor together. So that's where we ended up with Yellowstone. Again, we felt very good, and applause to Todd and others, whomever helped putting together the thorough RFP, which really helped our process. So thank you, and we feel. I think I will speak for Paul, and then we can disagree, that we feel very, very comfortable with this proposal and are excited about new opportunities for the community to bring it back to where it needs to be from a landscaping perspective.
Jack, can I make one more comment with this? And I'm sure we'll talk about it a lot more on November 8th, but even with Yellowstone had the best proposal and won with the scoring criteria, but they were the lowest bid also, which is a plus. There's still $85,000, $86,000 overall higher in our budget for next year than we were in the current year of our last year contract with Davy. So there's a significant change change in landscaping, because the scope was so specific to what we were looking for, the numbers came in higher. So you will see a difference on your budgets when those come out next week.
And that particular amount actually amounts to just short of $20 per household.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab number 13, motion to approve payment of initial Hurricane Irma's expenses for the amount of $14,249.69 from contingency reserve.
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
This is Go for it.
The only discussion I had, I think this is it. Yeah, some of these, it just would have been nice to see a little more detail, like when I see New Leaf or Davy, they just put a dollar amount in. It would have been helpful to say we had 3 people working for 17 hours on one day, and whatever. I would just have liked to have seen more detail in an invoice. And I trust that the work was actually done, and at that level of effort that matched $6,800 for one and $2,000 for another, et cetera.
Okay. Yeah, my question is, what is left? I mean, we talked about the trees. Do you have an estimate of what that is going to cost?
Well, at $1,600 a tree and 51 trees, it's about $80,000 we're looking at in tree replacement. As well as we're still missing some invoices from Davy for the hurricane cleanup, and we actually asked them to put on there that they're hurricane cleanup, so that we don't have those yet, but we expect those here in the next few days or so. And we anticipate that'll be $25,000, $30,000 more, less, 40, $80,000. There you go.
Can we ask them to itemize as much as possible just to make sure it's legitimate?
Todd, Todd, I know you've been on top of the Davy thing from at least the last several months.
Yes.
The amount that they have spent, or the amount of time they spent doing the hurricane cleanup, they were not doing our parks very well. They were neglecting the parks. So we're not paying that part of the contract then.
Correct.
Because they didn't submit that they mowed Longmeadow twice, in the last month because...
Right. Their statement to me was because they weren't using their crews, their normal crew, to do the routine maintenance, they were using them to supplement cleanup. They were just going to create that as a wash of the money that was normally spent for routine maintenance. The big numbers coming in from when they had their crews come in from up north and cut down trees and dispose of the trees and things like that. I haven't seen the invoice yet. I was just told that it was $80,000, and I about fell over because I think it's ridiculous. So they're itemizing it, and then we'll have to feed it up.
Can we find out? I mean, I know the CDD. I mean, Gerard had probably 5 times as many people here.
Right.
And my guess is that the invoice they got from Gerard was much less than $80,000.
It would be good to find that as a comparison.
I mean,
absolutely.
I would.
So they can bill all they want. It's what's reasonable that we need to look at.
So I guess the question is, the weeks they didn't do the lawn mowing, et cetera, we're just not paying them on that end, and they're going to charge us for all of the...
They're going to detail.
See, I'd rather not see a wash that way. I mean,
well, they had
you understand what I'm saying?
I do. Well, they're going to bill it so it indicates that it was hurricane cleanup. Is how we've asked them to do. So they're 2 separate things. But they said it was going to balance out because it was their exact maintenance crew doing the initial cleanup, going in and pulling the limbs off the parks and things like that, where that crew was utilized. So there's 2 different crews that they had in. So we're working with them to try and make sure it's all on the level.
So the blow-up amount will actually be the extra crews they brought in.
Correct.
Because we would have paid for the other crews to be here anyway during those other times.
Exactly.
So it's our monthly service for parks and service areas, plus whatever that extra crew that they brought.
I thought they had 1 crew, right? One
We have
crew,
one,
about
yeah.
6 or 7 guys
Yes.
for about a week.
About a week and a half is.
Okay.
Yep.
$80,000. Okay.
I'm in the wrong line of work.
Yeah, you are. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion to approve the payments?
14,000.
14,000, yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab number 14, motion to approve the renovation of the 851 building restrooms at an amount not to exceed $39,337. This is a CROA replacement reserve expenditure. And a second, please.
Second.
Discussion? Don't go back up here yet. We're not. No discussion? All in favor?
Well, we went through it.
Yeah, we did. All in favor?
Actually, just to discuss for one moment, Todd has met with Jeffrey Malwin, and who else? You met with some other people.
Designer that Debbie found that had suggested.
And did the other art guy, did you ever meet with Nathaniel?
No.
Did he just not have time? Or?
It was Jeffrey came in, that was the direction of the board, so we met with him, and he was very good to come up with suggestions and recommendations, which this is one of them.
Oh, I see a little change here.
Yes, he went in a good direction, and we listened to Joanne, the interior designer, to some of her recommendations and blended those together. Jeffrey was very happy with them. So
you're holding in your hand what
I'm holding in my
appears to be
hand
ceramic tile.
Yes.
Instead of the VPT.
Yes, Jeffrey had recommended that we have ceramic tile that appears to be wood for the restrooms as well as the entrance areas. He asked us to reduce the amount of tile in the two entrances and put more carpet for acoustics. And he recommended we stay with a darker color such as we have now for the carpet, which blends well with the tile.
And that's going to be
This is for the lobby area.
Atrium.
And bathrooms. And he really liked the wood louvered look for the partition walls in the restrooms, which was already in the booklet. And then, Eric, the changes you had asked for with the hand dryers are upgraded to meet ADA as well.
Okay.
And the little child safety seats.
$50.
Yeah, $50.
All day long.
All right, guys. So
just for you.
Thank you.
Let's
My son.
Are we ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And tab number 15.
Yes, stay up for 15.
Motion to approve the renovation of the 851 building lobby in an amount not to exceed $32,242 as a CROA replacement reserve expenditure.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second that.
Paul? Okay, any discussion?
And just because Debbie's not here, did we do anything about making sure that we didn't use real wood on those tables?
Good point. Yes, absolutely. What we have out there currently are the little round end tables that are laminate wood that blend well with the doors. Both designers thought that was a great idea to stick with that, so we'll just duplicate that as we move forward.
I'm an old woodworker from way back. I just know somebody's going to scratch that or raise the wood with something wet or something.
Sure. No, that was a good point. We remedied that.
Thank you.
Any more? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Tab number 16, the motion to ratify the replacement rather than repair of the reach-in refrigerator from Restaurant Depot for the amount of $2,256.43 as approved by the Artisan Park Service Area Committee. This is Artisan Park Service Area Replacement Reserve Expenditure. And a second, please.
I'll second that.
Paul seconds. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab number 17. Motion to ratify the purchase of a new smart television to replace the projector and screen in the main dining room as approved by the Artisan Park Service Area Committee. This is Artisan Park Service Area Capital Reserve Expenditure.
There's no amount.
Oh, yeah.
It was $4,000 some odd dollars.
Yes.
The initial television was $37.99. They had
a
couple $100 for some else.
So moved.
Okay, second, please.
I'll second that.
Paul seconds.
Okay.
Any discussion?
I have a question, and it's the same question I brought up the last time that we did something like this. I think the TV's already there.
It is?
Yes.
And I think the fridge is already there.
Fridge is not.
Fridge is not?
Was not.
Oh.
As of Saturday, it was not there.
Okay. TV's there. I thought we had asked about, do they need to wait until we actually ratify this, or does it just not even matter?
Yeah, what's the bylaws for it?
Well, technically, they're supposed to wait until you approve it. You're approving the reserve expenditures.
Somebody needs to say something.
Actually, this was put on a credit card by one of their board members.
I don't care where it was. They get
I think it's like, it's probably if somebody builds something, yes, people build stuff, and you know what? You run the risk of, if you didn't go through ARC, you may have to tear that thing down. So it's like, they run the risk, so we don't approve it. They're going to have to take it down.
Well, and historically, I don't think you ever once not approved the reserve expenditures. But technically, yes, it should come to you first before they make the
Can you send a letter of admonishment not to do this again?
I'll make sure. I'll make sure the bill knows.
Well, it should probably come from the CROA board.
Well, I'll sign it.
Yeah.
All right, so any further discussion then? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, nays? None. Motion carries. Tab number 18, the motion to approve to initiate the fine process for 22 non-compliance items through notification of the Covenants Committee meeting to confirm or reject the fine.
Oh, these are.
So,
second, please.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you for staying on top of these short-term rentals. And this is exactly how I want it to read out for each day of violation. Because that's what it is.
Have we got any reaction? Are people kind of,
One person took the advertisement down, the other one hasn't. The sign's still on there.
keep finding them. The thing of it is, guys, these guys go to this Airbnb, and they can rent these rooms.
I'm in the wrong line of work again.
For a hell of a lot more than what our fine is.
Well, we heard at the appeals meeting this week that you do have teeth behind these. You can convert them. You can move forward, going after them in court or leaning on a house. I mean, you do have teeth behind this.
It's not just the fine. It's not just the fine.
but it's saying, at the end of the day, we just get $5,000, right?
Oh, John, remember we took a large remediation earlier this year for short-term rental. That was one of the items.
Okay, cool. But let me ask you, so at the end of the day, we just get $5,000. But they can get thrown in jail if they continue doing
There's a couple issues.
That will get their attention.
They can have up to $5,000 worth of fines, but that's for one issue. But if they're not listing or not telling town hall about the lease within 10 days, and another $1,000 fine.
And
separate
and the county bed tax.
And the bed tax.
County bed tax.
That's a county penalty, though. That would be them enforcing that penalty.
Okay. So, here we are. We ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab number 19, motion approved to convert 3 fines to specific assessments.
So moved.
And second, please.
Second.
David, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab number 20, the motion to approve 4 CROA homeowner requests for $131.64 and 3 service area requests for $173.12. Is there any motion to approve by individual?
They really only have a problem with the one.
Okay.
The one that's got one ITL and two fee.
It's number 5.
So you say number 5?
Yeah.
Okay. So.
But we haven't ever waived any of them. If you look in the number of previous waivers in the past 5 years, all of them are 0 on page 1 and page 2 are 1. And I believe you kind of set a precedent, not a precedent necessarily.
Waiving 2 of them in a 5-year period. So we could waive, if they have a service area and a homeowners. For one set of those, that's 2 of them right there.
All right, so who would like to make a motion to waive the fines? And a second, please?
You're doing 1 to...
All of them.
No, we're doing
1 through 7.
Oh, no, 1 to 5.
Well, what's 6?
You got 2 on the
Seven.
back.
7, up to 7.
No, but there's a difference between, the difference between 6 and 7 and 1 to 5 is they've each had 1 waiver already.
And you said you're going to give them 2.
So we're going to give each one of those the second, I'm sorry. We would give them a second one. They're only asking for 1. We take all 7 together. Sorry, guys.
All right. All 7 together to waive.
You seconded, Leonard?
I didn't second it. Did
All right. Let's restate the motion. You created the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from David. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Hang on.
Wait,
Rachel needs to make sure she
let's clarify the motion that we are waiving no more than 2 fines for each one of these.
Okay, 2 late fees.
Because, I'm sorry, 2 late fees, because number 5 actually has 4 late fees on there.
Yes. So only half of that actual late fee.
That's what we were discussing.
No, I thought you said 2 waivers.
Where is number 5?
The first criteria you're looking at is the zero column. Okay, they've not had any before, but there are actually 4 fees in here that they're asking to get waived at one time.
So it makes sense to only waive 2.
So only waive 2 of them because this is how you've acted previously.
Right. So number 5, we're only waiving $50 of.
Correct.
That amount. Everyone else, we're waiving the total amount to be waived on them.
Am I looking at a wrong entry or something on number 5?
Exactly.
I only see 1 entry there.
Hand that over to them. There is only 1 entry.
Okay. All right. All right. So the motion then to you want to treat 5 separately?
We have a motion and a second.
I'll change my motion. 1 through 4 and 6 and 7 we will waive.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion for number 5, please.
That was David and Tim on the first and second.
You want to make that motion then?
Number 5, motion to waive half of it, basically, half of that total, half of the 110.64.
Well, it'd be 50.
No, you said $50, right? So it has to be $60.
Well, actually, we waive, on all the rest, we're waiving the interest and the interest portion of that. So to keep that straight across there, we're waiving 50% of that.
Of the $100.
Of the 110.64. That's the amount on the far right.
So it's 2 late fees in the interest.
So 55.32 is what you're waiving.
Okay.
Okay.
That's my motion anyway.
And a second. Okay. Discussion.
I seconded.
All.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll take it. It's mine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, tab number 21. Motion to approve 1 attorney instructed write-off for $598.21.
So moved. Oh, yeah, so moved. We'll talk about it.
Okay, second.
I'll second it to talk about.
Discussion. Why are we? They paid the lien off? Is it?
It looks like they've made all the payments, if I read this right.
Was this
Rachel, do you want to speak to this, or?
Right, well, this is attorney instructed write-off, so they've told us to write this off, right?
Yeah.
So we don't really have a choice when it's all said and done.
Okay. All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I was going to say, why is it even an item on the
You have to approve them.
I disagree with the attorney.
All right, tab number 22, motion to approve to have CCMC send 6 service area intent to lien letters to owners delinquent as of September assessments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab number 23, a motion to approve 1 legal request as recommended by the attorney.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No, sir. Tim, are you into this yet?
We've already carried the motion anyway. You get 3-1, 3-2.
Yeah.
4-2.
So aye for everyone's. I mean, what was it, Jack? What was the vote on this last one?
So the balance was 9818, and we're waiting for a grant.
We're waiting for a grant.
Well, actually, the balance owed was by the previous owner.
Right.
The bank has taken the thing over, and they actually only owe us $2,200 and some odd dollars, and they're overpaying by $4,000. So we're going to take the money and run.
Thank you. All right.
Okay.
They're in an offer and settlement that's going to wind up with more money than we might have gotten over the long
We
run.
would never gotten the 9818.
I would like to move to table the strategic planning goals update to our next meeting.
Second.
No, I'd like to postpone indefinitely because that's a special meeting next time.
Sure, postpone it indefinitely.
We'll do it. We'll
Till
pick it
the
up
November meeting.
November.
Till the regular November.
Regularly scheduled board meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I move to adjourn.
You win.
Too late. You're late. Thank you. Your time.
Let's turn
This
that
is a
camera
new
off,
one.
please.
You get up at 5:15 in the morning.
Oh, Lord, what's that for?
You didn't attend one of those how to do a meeting 1 hour